And first of all, I want to thank Al Ayman, the best manager in the world.
He's the fucking champion of the world!
It's episode 99 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast, brought to you by boxingasylum.com. I'm your host, Andy Patterson. We've got a full panel this week. We've got Adam Smith, Kurt Ward, Donny Baseball. Sorry, I should say Mr. Boxing Scene, Kurt Ward, Donny Baseball, the boss man, Tommy Allen, Alex Morris, and Mr. Saturday Night Boxing himself, Adam Abramovich. Now, just to let our listeners know is we have got an interview with Al Bernstein, which will be available on the download section of the podcast, which will be available in a few hours' time. Not really much action to discuss, lads, but there was a few fights that's caught our eyes. We need to discuss them, obviously. Good to be fight from Japan as well, which we'll touch upon. But starting in ascending order, we'll start with the Javier Fortuny against Abner Cotto fight. I think Cotto is going to get a nomination for Bellew of the Week this week, guys, because that the way he went down there after that fifth round ended, with his trainer Donny shouting, go down. I think he's actually looking for a disqualification victory there. But to be honest, Fortuny, I've seen him before down at featherweight. He does look like a decent talent. I just think I don't know what it was last night. He just seemed to be kind of off. Don't know, a lot of needle there, trying to blow the guy out, but in the end, left hand down the middle, it just ended Cotto. Don't rush in, Donny.
No, I'm sorry. Oh, was that directed at me?
Yeah, did you hear me say Donny, no?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. I apologize. Continue. What were you saying?
Oh, fuck. Adam, I'll go to you, mate. At least you were probably listening to me.
What were you saying?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so, I saw a fight last night, and it was obviously an embarrassing performance from Cotto in that he took a dive and he just wasn't sharp. He was looking for a way out pretty much a lot of the fight, going low, hitting behind the head. I mean he was deducted a point for that. Fortuna's one of these guys who's heavily hyped. He has a lot of offensive promise, but there's times where he looks very ordinary, especially if you make him go back or use a lot of lateral movement. If you look at how he did against the Franco fight, which I felt that Fortuno clearly lost, even though it was a real draw. There are people that have been extremely impressed by him, and I'm just not in that camp. He has some talent. He'll beat some guys. I just don't see him as a very well-rounded fighter at this point.
I certainly don't. But Tommy, mate, I don't know. You've never seen the fight, but if you did see it, I think you would be putting him in beside his cousin Miguel Cotto for quitting, etc. That's what he was trying to do, I think, with that dive. Donny, mate, are you now with us? Do you want to maybe now make a point that I put to you earlier on in the show there?
Yeah.
He quite afford, didn't they?
Yeah.
Just calm down, Donny. Calm down, mate. Mistakes happen in life,
No, I mean, I don't know if he necessarily quit. I mean, it seemed to be a good shot that he got hit with, but I mean, yeah, he definitely, I think, was either looking for a DQ or at least to get the point, which actually was successful. The thing that I found funny, and just going off of what Adam said, was that he had Fortuna had the opportunity to hit him with a clean sucker punch after the bell, and he even missed that. It's like, I mean, he's really sloppy in there, in my opinion. And I mean, yes, he does have good power, and yes, he has an exciting, fan-friendly offensive style. But when he's faced with somebody of serious skill level, I don't see him beating anybody that will make us regard him as even being in the top 25 pound-for-pound conversation. I don't think the skill level's there. He'll be in some fun fights, and he could certainly liven up a division that has been dead in recent couple of years. So I mean, that'll be exciting, but I don't see that much going for him. But he'll be in some fun fights.
Alex, did you see this fight, mate?
Yeah, I caught it just a couple of hours ago. Actually, I heard how much of a farce it was, and it was just utterly ridiculous, wasn't it? I mean, we're criticising the fighters, but we should also be criticising the referee.
Yeah, shocking.
The amount of screaming he did in that fight, all of which was to no avail. I mean, the second round alone should get him a ban for several months. I mean, the fact that he scored that blatant rabbit punch, several rabbit punches, a knockdown, and then gave the guy, docked a point from the guy. What's he thinking? What the hell is he doing? It's just a complete joke. And then the constant low blows from Abner Cotto in the 4th or 5th round, I can't remember which one, blatant low blows, didn't dock a point for that. It's just ridiculous. And, the whole fight was rubbish. I mean, it was quite a funny knockout in the end. Abner Cotto clearly quit. He went down. You thought, oh, maybe it was quite a big punch, but he went down, he laid there for ages. But as soon as he heard 9, he just got up like he was absolutely fine. He knew the fight was being waved off. And both of them, shouldn't be on our tellies for a while now, because that's just a complete joke.
I actually thought that I think Cotto could have made the count. I mean, I'm not going to get into it because people will say, oh, you're a hater against Puerto Rican fighters.
No, he quit. I fully agree he quit. He laid down.
Yeah, fuck it, he quit.
Out.
He fucking quit against Figueroa as well, didn't he?
Yep.
He looked like he tried to get him disqualified as well, in between rounds when he threw a punch. I mean, stupidly threw a punch, but he didn't connect, and then his trainer seemed to get in the ring and say, go down. He went down like Ashley Young for Man United, didn't he?
I thought that was him taking the piss at first. I thought that was him lying down. He was like, oh, you hit me so hard. But then the fact that he lay down for so long, faking it up, it's like he's pretending he did get hit. What was all that about?
Yeah, it's the trainer. I mean, I'd like to get his name actually, see if he's on Twitter or anything, because I need to discuss with him. He's basically telling his fighter to take a dive and to try and. I mean, that's not sportsmanlike conduct. It's a sport at the end of the day. But anyways, Adam Smith. Sorry, Donnie, on you go, mate.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say hitting after the bell though is a foul too, and I mean sometimes. A lot of times you'll see fighters trade punches a little bit after the bell. Shit, the Bo Holyfield fights, especially the first one. That happened like every single round. People didn't get docked points. Usually, in order to get the point docked from the other fighter, you need to make it look like the punch after the bell hurt you or compromised you in some way. I think it was a veteran move. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think if he had stayed down and tried to say he was legitimately hurt, and tried to go for the disqualification, but I think he was just doing a little bit of smarter acting to get a point and maybe try to narrow the point margin. And honestly, you shouldn't have fucking idiots punching you after the bell like that. I mean, that was a good 5 seconds after the bell. So, I mean, if he should be compensated for that.
But he looked like a footballer who was like diving or whatever. It was just complete farce the way he just fell down about 10 seconds after the punch was thrown, after his trainer was saying, oh, go down quickly, pretend that you're hurt. It's just a complete joke and just utterly bizarre. The whole fight was just a mess.
Well, I've no intention or any wish to see Abner Cotto again, but I'm actually surprised he actually even scored a victory over Jerry Belmontes. I was quite... Donnie, you and I seen the Omar Figueroa fight with Belmontes. We felt he'd actually beat Figueroa, or he actually maybe threw the fight away actually by not punching or fighting down the stretch.
Yeah.
So it just shows you, I mean, I just wasn't impressed with Cotto there at all last night. But moving up that card, I never saw the Khalid Trox fight, but I think it was an overmatched opponent for what I hear. Tomoki Kameda, second fight in America, guys. Alejandro Hernandez. Now, I watched the Hernandez win the interim title just by way of just just understanding the guy a little bit during the week against Daniel Rosas. I said on Twitter he's got a mean left hook. He did land it a few times last night. But the scorecard's somewhat out. I'll open it up to everyone who's seen the fight. My personal view is I had it 116, 112, I think, to Kameda. But I can see the point whereas how it's got close on the cards because Kameda just didn't really do much after he got the cut. He just seemed to be fighting off the back foot a little bit more. But I think this guy, I've seen quite a fair bit of him actually. He is the best of the three Kameda brothers. That jab, double, triple, quadruple jab up to the head and body. It's very, very vicious actually. So he's going to be an excellent addition to the top end of that division. So
yeah, I saw the fight. I thought Kameda won comfortably, and I thought he gave some rounds away at the end. And I mean, he's a very talented fighter, very good hand speed. Exciting guy for the bantamweight division. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen a little more of a killer instinct from him, and I think that's going to be something because the 118 is a really good division, and there's some tough guys there. I think he's going to match up well with a lot of them, but I would have liked to have seen a little more. I would have liked to have seen a little more killer instinct from him yesterday. But it was a good performance. I mean, I thought he won. I thought the rounds that Hernandez may have taken at the end were kind of academic. But all in all, I thought Kameda showcased the types of things that he can do in a ring.
Yeah, I mean, I think as I said, he is the best. How do you see when there's talk, Alex, about Eddie Hearn has made it or been in contact with Kameda's camp, probably Al Heyman, I would imagine. I think he's with Al Heyman with the potential fight with Jamie McDonnell. You think that fight's going to happen? I can't see that fight happening in the UK, in all honesty. We lost Alex as well.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, it's not going to happen in the UK. I mean, Hearn tweeted it earlier in the week, I think, mentioning that it's going to be in Vegas Lights or something like that. I mean, they're not going to pay for Kameda to come over here. They can't outbid Al Heyman for a start, let alone, even if he wasn't with Al Heyman, I don't think Hearn would have brought Kameda over here. Based on last night, you might be a bit critical of Kameda's performance and you rate Jamie McDonnell's chances, but I think Adam questioned sort of maybe not his heart, but necessarily his toughness. His toughness maybe in his desire. He should have had a lot more aggression. He should have had a lot more will to do more last night, I think. And maybe if Jamie can really put it on him and put a lot of pressure on him, you might be able to see maybe eke a points win out over Kameda. But honestly, I think it's an easy night for Kameda if he just sticks to his usual game. Sort of a 117, 116 points victory to him, perhaps.
Donnie, you want to take it up, mate?
Yeah, I actually was impressed with his performance, and to me, the scorecards were bizarre. I mean, I didn't see how it was that close, because even when Kameda was visibly bothered by that cut and the associated swelling on that same eye, that was Hernandez's chance, and he seemingly was still sitting back there with his high guard and waiting for opportunities to counter. And he didn't, he wasn't going on the offensive, in my opinion, and he let a guy who clearly had never seen the sight of his own blood before, or maybe dealt with that kind of swelling in his eye. Maybe he could have done something with that. He could have exploited that, but he was playing a conservative in a fight that I felt he was losing badly. And so some of those rounds, I think that maybe the judges gave Hernandez late, they gave to him just by comparison, because I think that Kameda won the early ones so visibly and so clearly. So I don't really fault Kameda, as Adam seems like maybe he wants to a little bit, for not stopping him, because this guy had never been stopped. In fact, the only sort of stoppage loss that he had on his record was due to an injury, according to the commentators that were calling the fight last night. And I mean, some of these Mexican guys that, turned pro early and have, 10 losses and stuff. I mean, they're tough SOBs. I mean, they come to fight and it's very difficult to stop them, especially when he was employing that high guard and he wasn't initiating the offense and giving Kameda the openings that he needed. The one thing that I could fault Kameda for was that he maybe didn't invest in a body attack the way he should, because when you got a fighter who has his hands up held high, the way you bring those hands down is by going to the body, and he failed to do that. So he has some things to work on, but the hand speed is impressive, and coming out with the whole entourage full of girls dressed for Dia de los Muertos, right? All that stuff. I mean, he's got the showmanship aspect of it, and with that kind of hand speed in a hot division, that'll help take him places. And he's got Heyman behind him, and so I mean, he could be in some exciting fights. Also, just I don't want to change the subject too much, but Andy, I just looked at your rankings, which I think are some of the best rankings around, by the way. But I noticed that you didn't have Koki Kameda in your bantamweight rankings, and apparently he has moved up to bantamweight, according to Steve Farhood last night. So
no, he's moved into super flyweight.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because he vacated the WBA title. Yeah.
Is he still? Farhood had Koki Kameda in his bantamweight rankings, and I guess he had fought on the undercard, the untelevised undercard of last night's event. But anyways, I just wanted to ask you about that. But no, in general, I think Kameda put on a good performance, and it really shouldn't have been that close, to be honest with you. But people see it differently, I guess.
If Showtime want to use Boxing Asylum rankings, there will be a small fee.
Yeah,
Am I getting that money, mate?
I think, like Andy says, Kameda is the best of the brothers, but I think it's a fight that McDonough can win. I don't think it's not like he's been sent abroad to get beaten up like a Lee Purdy type. I think he'll be confident in getting the win. You'd make Kameda the favourite, but I think McDonough has an underrated record, and he can box well, and when he sticks to a plan, I think he can. I mean, it's going to be a tough ask to get the win, but it's definitely a winnable fight, and you can see where they've made it. To be honest, it just sticks the knife in the pay-per-view even more, that the fact is they agreed terms to this fight when he hasn't even fought on November 22nd yet, which shows how little they think of that opponent.
Would McDonald's challenge to Kameda be on pay-per-view, as he has gone back-to-back pay-per-views, Jamie McDonald?
Yeah, but the thing is that I think this fight would happen in America, in all honesty, because I think Kameda's now said he's going to be making Vegas his home in future.
Jamie Money McDonald, is that the new nickname?
Yeah, it's possible. But I mean, Donny, take us up now, mate, to the Andres Fanfara fight against Dudu Nugambo or something his name was. Where's he from? He's not from the prison canteen, is he?
He might be a veteran of the prison canteen. I don't know.
No, he's French. He's from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. He's never fought in the prison canteen, so he obviously was a bum. Got to be.
Only the best come out of the prison canteen. Like Isaac Ekbo. what was his nickname?
The Grenade.
The Grenade Ekbo.
Fanfara, I mean, we knew that, he's the type of guy who could give people problems from the Stevenson fight. Obviously, he did sign with Heyman. They put him in this fight with Nagumbu because they thought he could win it. In the early rounds, Fanfara seemed a little bit confused. Nagumbu's style is a little bit weird. But in general, eventually Fanfara seemed to close down and figure him out, and eventually, he got the stoppage, of course, but en route to that stoppage, which I thought was very impressive, is that he actually probably most likely fractured his right hand, I think it was, and he still managed to get a stoppage with a broken hand, essentially, and he held back on throwing that punch a little bit, and he figured out this problem that he probably hasn't dealt with before, to my knowledge. And when you're able to get a stoppage when you have a broken hand, even if it's against the guy you're supposed to beat anyways, that's impressive. So I thought that he showed he was adaptable, and that's an important skill in this sport that sometimes we don't always know how a guy will react to something like that. But he clearly has the makeup to be a player in the division. And I think he's going to be chasing that Stevenson rematch. Nobody wants to really see it because Stevenson is an older fighter, and if he only has so many fights left in the sport, we don't want one of them to be a Fanfara rematch. We'd prefer, obviously, a whole host of other fights. But in terms of from Fanfara's perspective, that he did what he needed to do last night to put himself in conversation for the fight he wants.
Yeah, I'd like to see what happens with him next, actually. I don't know if he'll get a title shot right off the back of that one. He's another one that's with Heyman, I would imagine. So, Adam Abramovich, do you think we'll see Fanfara in any meaningful world title fight shortly? You want to mute Adam?
No, I don't really. He's going to be in line behind a lot of other guys. I mean, Stevenson, probably if he goes for the big fight that's not Hopkins or Kovalev, that's going to be Pascal. Hopkins and Kovalev are going to be fighting, obviously, this week. Perhaps the loser maybe goes to Fanfara. But it's a very thin division except for the big names. So Fanfara probably needs to get another win or two, and stay busy next year. And it's possible by the end of maybe 2015 how the division shakes out. I mean, Hopkins is one of these guys, if he keeps winning belts, he won't let the sanctioning bodies strip him. So who knows? So I think Von Ferrer, because with Heyman and Showtime and Stevenson's probably going to go the way, I think he's probably going to have to just stay busy with a couple of fights before he gets a real shot again.
I mean, I don't know if I agree that the divisions. You said it's weak except at the top. I mean, like
it's top heavy. I mean, I mean, you know, he already knocked out Campillo. There isn't a lot of depth at light heavyweight right now. There just isn't a lot there.
There's one big fight though. There's one big fight possible, Donny. I'm just thinking here. I just remember Jürgen Bremer. He fights. No, wait a minute. He fights in early December, but he's fighting Pete the Pole Galaski. You know, if he wins, WBA world title.
Well, not even. That's a secondary title.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
true.
Not even the
True,
real.
but you know what it's like in the day. They're still going to pimp that shit, though, aren't they?
So where do we figure Enzo Maccarinelli into this equation?
Yeah, well, apparently Enzo still wants that rematch with Bremer.
I think he should have got it. I thought he was doing all right before the swelling.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Bremer doesn't want none of that.
No danger.
He's not wanting the Welsh Wizard. No chance.
But I mean, I think that there are some exciting guys like coming up. I mean, for instance, Beterbiev, also Eliader Alvarez, if he'd be a little bit more active, but he's shown some promise. And I mean, I want to see Pascal against virtually all these guys because Pascal Kovalev, Pascal Hopkins, Pascal Stevenson are all. I mean, I could think of like probably 7 or 8 fights just off the top of my head that you can make that I think will keep the division exciting for a while.
Just think, Tommy, I mean, the light heavyweight divisions really went downhill since like Nathan Cleverly and the world esteemed Tony Bellew left and moved up in weight.
Well, obviously the class level went down when Cleverly left, and the arsehole and we went down when Bellew left. I'm still cringing at ringside.
Oh god, I've not seen that shit actually. I'm glad I didn't watch it. But moving on, I guess we'll have a chance to discuss it a wee bit later on. But moving on, I think I'm the only person to see this fight. If not, just jump in. Boxing has got a new star coming out of Japan. I really don't know what's in the water in Japan at present, but these young kids that are coming out here, you had Nayu Inoue, Kazuto Ioka, all these fighters coming out through world champions in different weight divisions and good amateurs. New 19-year-old strawweight goes by the name of Kosei Tanaka. Now, he won a silver medal at the Asia Youth Championships. He also won I think he got beat in the quarterfinals of the World Youth Championships as an amateur. Now, at 19 years old, he's been likened to the fighter who I was touting out here a few weeks back about that great war, Yukihiro Tatoshushi. Now, this guy is very, very popular. Now, the kid I'm talking about, Kosei Tanaka, 19 years old, great fan base. The fight was posted on our website, and only his third pro fight, he's went in against a world ranked by the 4 organisations, ranked in the top 5 of every organisation, ranked number 9 with the Ring magazine, and he stopped the guy in 10 rounds. Ryuji Hara won the OPBF minimum weight title, which is the Asian regional title, I believe. Absolute all-action fighter. So if you want to see that fight, you'll catch it on our website or go to asianboxing.com or hit up at asianboxing on Twitter, and he'll put you in touch with it. So this kid could have a good future. The only problem is he does seem to eat quite a few right hands over the top. So you just don't know if it's going to, maybe short his career a little bit. But he's got skills. There's certainly a lot to work with there. So I'm really excited to see how he progresses his career. I think we've got some callers coming on, but just before we do, just want the listeners know is coming up at this part of the show now, we have got our interview with Al Bernstein, which runs for 20 minutes. Boxing Asylum listeners, with us today on the call is Al Bernstein of Showtime Sports, colour commentator. As you also know, he's a member of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Al, you've been involved in the sport now, I don't know, is it over 30 years, I believe?
35 years I've been announcing boxing, yeah.
35 years. In that time, you've seen the Fabulous Four up close and personal. You've seen some of the greats, all-time greats, I should say. Actually, which fight from that era sticks out in your memory?
Oh, from the Big Four period of Duran, Leonard, Hearns, and Hagler. I was privileged to do the Hagler-Hearns fight, and that one was pretty amazing because it It had, maybe one of the best rounds ever of middleweight boxing. It was so exciting, and so that one kind of always jumps to the front for me. Though another one involving one of the Four Kings, Duran. I always think about. I did the Roberto Duran, Iran Barkley middleweight championship fight, and that was an amazing battle in the East Coast in the United States, and that was pretty extraordinary. But I was involved in a lot of the fights for the Four Kings, and it was an extraordinary era. Just one that I asked the great Gil Clancy, who had, of course, seen much before me, and I said, "Are we wrong in assuming this is a special time?" And he said, "No, absolutely not."
Al, I believe that you actually did your first pay-per-view, and that actually featured Roberto Duran against Marvin Hagler. I remember reading some comments, and basically, and the scorecard suggested it was quite a tight fight. I mean, I'm a big Duran fan. People said that Hagler had to put the foot down in the last 3 or 4 rounds just to eke out that result. I didn't see it like that. I felt Hagler actually won the fight quite comfortable in the end, on the points, I should say. How did you score that fight by memory?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was. I thought Hagler was farther ahead than the judges had. You know, the judges, for some reason, always had a hard time giving Marvin Hagler his due. I'm not sure what that was about, but in that fight, though I think Hagler didn't fight as well as he might have, and I thought Duran did much better than people expected. I thought Hagler was definitely ahead by more on the scorecards, but he did end up getting the victory, which is the key thing for him.
Mr. Bernstein, Don here from the podcast. By the way, thanks for accommodating our time change there. Just a quick question for you about the follow-up to this subject that I've always wondered about. How did it come to be that Al Michaels ended up calling Hagler Hearns with you? Because
it's fun. Yeah, that's an interesting story, actually. I talk a little bit about that in my book. The Al Michaels, ABC was at that moment thinking. I was doing the fights on ESPN, which was owned by ABC, and ABC was thinking about having Al Michaels do the boxing on ABC. And at that time, ABC had just one announcer do the boxing because Cosell did it for so long, and they didn't have anybody with him. And Al Michaels was going to do the boxing, and they asked Top Rank, Bob Arum at Top Rank, who was doing the pay-per-view, if Al Michaels could do the show so that they could hear Al Michaels and me together. And that's the genesis of that. And then we did do it together, and I didn't end up doing ABC shows. Alex Wallow did it, even though he was an announcer. He was a producer. But that was the reason. They wanted to listen to Al Michaels and me together.
I'll bring in my other colleague, Gabe Lewis. I believe he's got some questions he wants to ask you as well. Gabe, you there, mate?
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, Mr. Bernstein, how's it going?
I'm good. How about you?
Fantastic. So, I've read a little bit of your book. I haven't gotten to all of it. But I was curious because we talked a little bit about the folks that you worked with before. You worked with Gil Clancy and lots of other folks. And, for a certain crowd, those guys are what they think of when they think of boxing commentary folks. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of folks like myself, we think of, obviously Al Bernstein or some of the other folks. What's your take on that? I mean, you've been around the sport for so long, and now you're kind of becoming synonymous with commentary in some folks' eyes. Is that like a strange way to look at it for you?
Well, it's interesting. I know what you're getting at with that comment. It's very hard to think of you. I think anybody, unless they have an ego the size of Texas or since we're going internationally, the size of the UK. I think you really, when you take a look at it, it's kind of hard to remove yourself from it and say, okay, so am I supposed to be looked at because of longevity or whatever, like these other people? It's very hard to get out of your skin and think of that. What you hope for is that you, through the body of work you've done and what you've brought to a sport, that you can at least take your place as one of the people in the pecking order who helped chronicle the sport. And that's the way I look at where I kind of am sitting at. Now, I've been at it for a long time, and there are people who have come up since I've done this, of course, who people look to as well. So I'm kind of in that in-between period where I'm still obviously very active doing it, and I would like to do it for several more years at the very least. But I know that people, rightfully kind of glance an eye backward at the past and want to kind of look at that, which I totally understand, and I get a kick out of it. It's really hard to put yourself to kind of figure out where you fit into the pantheon of things.
Okay, thanks for that. I have one more question for you. Over your career, and you've seen and experienced a lot of things. I mean, you'll know more than some folks ever will. But something I've seen before is folks kind of critical about when you do your keys to the fight. When we're early on in the fight or in the first couple of rounds.
Mm-hmm.
From my perspective, what I figured is that you're outlining kind of general boxing strategies that would be for the person who's an average fan rather than a hardcore, junkie.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's funny. I saw that. Of course, the social media these days is rife with you can't you can't possibly. You have to have thick skin if you're going to be at all involved in social media. And I did notice that some people, which I was surprised at, some people are annoyed or don't like it. And of course, I don't make the decision to do that. That's made by the producers and the people that do the show, and they say, we want you to do keys to victory, so I do them. I guess I don't really understand where what's the problem, because, of course, yes, it's a guideline to suggest some strategies that might be effective. I don't think it's any different than saying those things, which clearly somebody might if they're an analyst on a boxing match. We're just putting them in graphic form and saying, here's some things to look for. I mean, it actually feels so benign to me that I'm shocked that anybody would even think it. It only takes 20 seconds, or in between rounds it takes about 40 seconds to do it, so it's not encumbering anybody. And it's a viewpoint, it's a suggestion, and I think within the parameters of that, I mean, I would like to think that there have been many times where, as the fight goes on, and we don't usually go back to them, sometimes we do, where we could point to them certainly and say, oh yeah, that we said that in Keys to Victory. So, yeah, I just think it's a device that has been used for a long time. I guess it's synonymous with me a little bit because I don't know on the other networks they do it, but in a slightly different fashion.
Al, we've also got my other colleague Alex Morris, who's also going to ask you some questions, I believe, about your book also. Alex, mate?
Well, thanks for coming on, Al. We're all big fans of yours. I think we've spoken a lot.
I appreciate getting on here with you guys.
Well, thank you very much. We've got a lot of British listeners, and they're all very big fans of yours, and they obviously want you to come over here a bit more. But my question sort of centres on this year in boxing so far, 2014. I mean, last year was a great year for boxing.
Right.
2013, I mean, I think you noted it. Pretty much everyone noted it's one of the best years we've ever had. But this year, quite a few people have noted it's been very poor for boxing. Particular people have pointed towards Showtime failing to capitalise on the success they had last year. What do you think the reason is for the criticism for this year and the general lack of quality?
Yeah. I think objectively you have to say this has not been. I mean, last year was terrific. 2013 was spectacular. We said it was one of the best years the sport's had in 25 years, maybe. And this year has been marked by we've had some good matches, of course, as you would expect in boxing on all the networks, including Showtime. But this year has not lived up to the promise of last year. And I think some of it has to do with the fluidity of boxing business, the whole incident with Golden Boy and all the breakup of that kind of. I think that probably had an impact on Showtime and set us back a little bit in terms of. I'm not involved in making those programming decisions, but it seems obvious that put a chink in our armor in terms of figuring out what fights to make and where to get them and what to do with them. And I think it slowed it down a little bit. Hopefully, the last quarter of the year we have some fights coming up that will do better. Although it isn't to suggest we didn't have some good fights. We did, clearly. But this year in general was marked by fighters not getting in the ring. And I think it's picked up in the last 3 or 4 months. And I think there are fights on the board for the last quarter that hopefully will send us into the next year with a little more momentum. And I think the boxing world probably needs a little more clarity next year because in terms of its business, I always joke that boxing is laissez-faire capitalism run amok. It'd be like if there were no governments anywhere, and really that creates this kind of Wild West attitude and anarchistic kind of feeling. And so for boxing to sort itself out is kind of important for this coming year, and for everybody to figure out where their niches are. And because the business part does affect ultimately the product. But I do see some positive signs here toward the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think to follow up on that point, obviously we're going to be talking about Hopkins Kovalev in a minute, but to continue about the business side, I mean, I think fans are getting really sick of the business excuse, people talking about the finances, and it doesn't make financial, make financial sense in a way. And I think that a lot of that's a link to Floyd Mayweather. I think he's still pretty much the marquee star for the sport, and he himself has got relatively poor ratings, I think, this year, and I think that's possibly linked due to overabundance of pay-per-view. But do you think that at the moment, do you think Floyd Mayweather is a good for the sport at the moment? Do you still see him as a positive for the sport?
Well, look, he does the pay-per-view and 900,000 people come. Clearly, he's a factor, big factor, and pay for the fight and watch it. And Floyd Mayweather is probably the best pound-for-pound fighter still in the world today. I mean, I think that's a fair statement. So, and those levels, of course, he makes an impact. I think part of the big problem is that the lack of the Pacquiao fight has become this elephant in the room for boxing, not just for Mayweather or for Pacquiao or for anybody, but for the sport, especially here in the United States where the mainstream media doesn't cover boxing very much. It's almost as if that's, boxing, even when it was making all the fights fans wanted to see, the mainstream media was still off on this idea that, well, boxing can't make good fights because, look, they're not making the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight. The only reason I'd love to see that fight get made is it would take the monkey off boxing's back, and get that made. So, I think, Floyd Mayweather is clearly in the twilight of his career. He's still making big events, and those events are meaningful. And this past fight against Maidana wasn't as exciting as the previous one, but the one before it was certainly interesting. And as Mayweather continues to age here in this last couple of fights on his deal, we may end up seeing more exciting fights.
Al, I've got another one of my colleagues as well. We've got a full panel this week. It's Mr. Kurt Ward's got a few questions for you.
Yeah, hi Al. British fight fans obviously heard you when you came over to work on Channel 5.
Yeah, I'm going to be back. I'm going to be back in a week or so. I'll be back a couple weeks. I'm back on November 8th, I believe, for a fight on Channel 5.
Well, I was going to ask actually, how did that come about? And when are you coming back? So you've answered that one, but how did it come about that you're working on Channel 5?
Yeah, they reached out to me, a production company that was doing the boxing for Channel 5 when they started, reached out to me, and to come and do it. And I was really excited because as it turns out, I didn't realize it at the time, but no American has ever done boxing in the UK on a UK channel or network. And so I guess I was the first to do it. And I joke a little bit about, in fact, I joked in my book, when we were getting ready to do the first Channel 5 show, I turned to Dave Farr and Mark Pugac, and I said, I better do good on this show because if I screw it up, there won't be another American that comes over here for another 50 years. So it's a lot riding on this. I don't mess this up. So apparently I didn't mess it up too badly because they brought me back. And there are occasional shows when I have a conflict and I can't come, but I try to do all the shows I can, and I'll be back there. The light heavyweight little tournament that we had, the finals of that with Bob Badge's safe and Travis Dickinson will be on that show in November 8th. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'll tell you, the last show I did over there where
crazy.
Matty Clarkson.
Matty Clarkson fought. That was one of the wildest fights I've ever seen. Crazy. I love coming over. I love coming over, and I love doing the shows there. And I wish I could do more. I would love to be over there constantly. I would. This is one of the areas in the world that, if I had a chance to live there, I would do so. And I thought about it in the early '90s. I was talking to some people, and I actually thought I might end up over there for a couple of years, but it didn't quite work out.
Al, as you heard Alex, so it's Andy here again. As Alex says, it's been a pretty poor year for boxing. We haven't really had that many exciting fights. Perhaps maybe Matisse against Molina, the fight from Mexico with Takayama and Rodriguez. That fight with Clarkson and Dickinson, although it was two domestic guys given their absolute all, would you put that in a contender for Fight of the Year?
Yeah, when I think of Fight of the Year candidates, I think of how exciting were they, and within the sphere of what they are, how important were they? And that fight was important to those two fighters, and important within the realm of the light heavyweight division in the UK, and that tournament, which is kind of designed to, kind of flesh out the top light heavyweights or light heavyweights that could be the best. And so and it was so exciting. As always in boxing, a little bit of controversy attached to it because of the stoppage of the fight. But when you look at it, I thought it was so exciting and well fought within the level of those fighters. They're good fighters. Are they great fighters? Probably not great. You couldn't put that adjective to them. But they're good fighters. They're solid fighters. And they showed not only skill sets, but also great toughness, and it was so exciting to watch. So, yeah, to me, I like putting those kind of fights in the running for Fight of the Year because they are important.
See, in 2010, did Antonio Escalante against Miguel Roman, did that win the Fight of the Year? That was on ESPN. That was a crazy fight. Yeah,
exactly. So, that's right, yeah. So, I don't see any reason why a fight that doesn't have monstrous worldwide implications can't be there.
Yeah. Obviously, the fight that's on everyone's lips just now is Bernard Hopkins against Sergey Kovalev. Bernard, at almost 50 years of age, trying to unify two of the titles at light heavyweight. Can you give us a preview of the fight? How do you see it going? And can you give us your patented keys to victory?
I don't know if everybody wants those, do they? Well, I think, it's extraordinary that Bernard Hopkins decided to fight Kovalev instead of Adonis Stevenson. Stevenson, who had been, against Andre Fonfara, had his issues in that fight, even though he won it and was knocked down and looked a little tired at the end. You would think that Hopkins was set up to fight him. Instead, he went to Kovalev. And, of course, we know Kovalev is a very powerful fighter, much younger than Hopkins, but then everybody is much younger than Hopkins that he faces. And I think the issue is, can Bernard Hopkins get that fight to be fought at a slow and tactical pace and then not get hit with a big punch? At the end of the day, that's really what it boils down to for Hopkins, to try and keep the pace slow, kind of lull him into a, not a firefight, and then avoid getting hit with the big bomb and probably, strangely enough, it's odd we would say this for a guy that's almost 50, but the later rounds might be kinder to Bernard Hopkins even than the early rounds. So the question is, can he do that? And can Kovalev land? And I know the right hand is a big punch for him. I think in this fight, though, to me, the left hook is going to be the key for Kovalev. I think he's going to want to double it to the body and the head, and if he can land that punch, I think that punch for him is even more powerful than his right hand. So we'll see if he can land it and hurt Hopkins, who, at his age is extraordinary he's fighting these younger men, and doing well. He comes into this fight with a winning streak of 3 and as, a championship, and it's almost defies all odds.
The one thing I'm worried about, though, Al, this is Don again, is just that if Kovalev wins, I'm just wondering if he's going to get the proper credit, because, a lot of the casual fans who may not, realize exactly, the level that Bernard Hopkins is at, even at this advanced stage. And then also then if Bernard Hopkins wins, people are going to say, well, look at the state of the light heavyweight division when, the most fearsome, avoided guys can get beat by a 50-year-old. Do you think that that whoever the winner of this fight is going to get their just due?
Well, I think that's part of the age we live in, isn't it? We live in an age where, and boxing certainly is a sport, where amazing, the revisionist history that goes on the minute the fight is ended is beyond my comprehension, because, a fight that people are looking forward to beforehand, all of a sudden if somebody overachieves or someone underachieves during that fight, the gray area doesn't exist. They go right to as you've just pointed out, the two extremes that they could go to in terms of viewing that match. I think some of that is inevitable in this fight, and your point's very well taken. It's almost a no-win situation in some ways. Maybe for both fighters in a way, because even Hopkins, if he wins, when it's an extraordinary feat for him to win, people will immediately rewrite history and say, well, Kovalev wasn't really that good to begin with, and he was a one-dimensional puncher, and all of which would still not negate the fact that at 49 years old, to be able to get in there with somebody like that and do it is amazing. So I think you're right. Some of that will happen. I hope less than should happen, or less than possible that we see. But there's no question some people will react that way, and I don't think they should, because Kovalev is a good fighter. He is powerful, and Hopkins is performing at that level. The thing about Hopkins is that, he's lost a lot of fights in his 40s as well. So just when you think, Father Time has caught up with him, he comes back somehow and manages to win.
Al, we really appreciate your time. I know we're only meant to have you on for 10 minutes. We've had you on for 20. Final question, who's going to win, Kovalev or Hopkins?
Well, that's a toughie. And I'm not announcing that fight, so I usually try not to predict when I'm announcing it, but I won't be announcing that fight, so I don't have an excuse to not answer your question. I think in the end of the day, if somebody put a gun to my head, grudgingly, I would say Kovalev, but to me, it's such a thin margin, because if Bernard Hopkins is able to frustrate him and keep the pace low and cannot get hit with a big bomb, I could easily see him frustrating Kovalev. Yeah. But I think Kovalev will probably be a bit too much in terms of physicality for Hopkins. We'll see.
I think Kovalev wins as well, but would anybody really be shocked if Hopkins pulled it off? He's shocked us that many times in the past, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's true, and it's that's why this fight is fascinating, and it's one of the reasons why they'll probably get a fair amount of good audience for it. And really, you have to say, how much credit can you give Bernard Hopkins for taking this particular fight? That's amazing to me. You're 49, you're going to be 50 years old, and you take on the biggest puncher in the division. That's it's just extraordinary, no matter what happens.
Do you think Kovalev could knock him out?
Yeah, I don't think it's impossible. Hopkins hasn't been, of course, but I don't think it's impossible. Bernard Hopkins is almost 50 years old, and Kovalev hits with great power. So it wouldn't surprise me either way if he did or didn't, but it could be that he would, because it's an older fighter, and I think one of the important things there is Kovalev needs to invest in the body early in the fight, especially with the left hook. He's got a powerful and thunderous left hook, and when he throws it to the body, it's a great punch, and I think that would help him get a stoppage if he could get one later in the fight.
Excellent.
Al, mate, listen, we would really like to get you back on for a longer period at some point, if that could be possible. But
Sure.
as host of the podcast, I'd like to thank you on behalf of Donnie, Kurt, myself, Tommy, Alex, and Gabe. Hopefully we do get you back on at a later date, and maybe delve into a wee bit more historical side of the sport as well.
Sure, happy to do so. Anytime you want, I'll be happy to come on and visit with you guys.
Thanks, Al. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Appreciate it, Al. Thanks.
All the best.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Kurt, who's first up in the call?
David Lee. I'm just going to be adding him now.
No worries. Just while we're waiting, just to let the listeners know is that interview will be available on the download.
It was a very good interview.
It was good.
And hopefully we'll be having Mr. Hearn next week.
Yeah, well, he's promised us anyway. Eddie Hearn will probably join us next Thursday evening, so hopefully we can get that to you as well. Maybe do a live show, hopefully. So this is David Lee. This is the Irishman, is it not? I think he's from...
Yep.
Speak to him on Twitter. Is he from Limerick or something, I think?
I think so.
He's just got a join call.
There we go.
David! Dave, you there, mate?
You're muted.
David.
Here he comes.
Who's Christmas? David.
Gabe, is Gabe on typing?
I don't know. Someone, I think, is going to duck this call, I think.
Well, he signed with Heyman, apparently.
David Lee, are you there?
Check you're not muted, mate.
I think we've got a knockdown here, guys.
Sign language doesn't work on the podcast.
No, I need to read it out in Braille, I think.
Right, see you later, David.
Oh well, sorry about that. Who else we got then, Kurt? David's ducked us there. Is Rocco around?
I think Rocco wants to come on.
Oh god, this will be
Get
good.
him on, man. Get him on.
This will be good.
Look at this in the chat. James D. Ward. I'm only on here for Hearn.
Yeah?
Look.
James Edward.
James Edward. Come on, Tony. Where are you?
I hope he's not got his camera on this week.
What was that?
Remember that? He was sitting there with... He's got his bald, he's completely bald, he was sitting there without his t-shirt on. He looked like a fucking... he looked like a coconut with the fucking hair on his back. Come on, Tony, where are you, mate?
Is that really going to come on the show?
It's going out live right now.
No, I think we should move on to the questions and see if they can
2
get their
minutes,
mic
right.
sorted or
2 minutes,
whatever.
okay, right, we'll go to the first question. Right, Adam Smith, you've been sitting quietly, mate, so we'll bring you into the topic of conversation just now. This is from Jerry Murray. Best punches in boxing: Holmes jab, Hearn's right hand, past or current. What's your favourite?
Holmes jab. I thought they've gone away from the jab nowadays. Like everyone's all power, and speed. But looking back, I've spent a bit of time looking back at the heavyweight history, and Holmes's jab was brilliant. He won so many fights just with his jab, and obviously he went on to be quite an underrated champion. I thought of the great heavyweights, but that jab alone does put him amongst the great heavyweights.
Me, I love the left hook to the body. I just think if you can just soak up all those body punches, you manage to get the left hand in the body, you can soak it up. You're a hard bastard. But if you get it right in the bottom rib, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. It just saps the whole and utter life out of you.
I like Tyson's uppercut.
Which one was it? Was it Jesse Ferguson, the one that he actually just almost like lifted him right off the floor with it? Was it Jesse Ferguson fight?
Yep, I think so.
Tyson's a great left hook to the body as well, didn't he?
Was it no left hook, left hand to the head, and then right uppercut? His combination.
The combination he stopped Bruno with against the ropes. That had I think that had like a, what was it? An uppercut and then a right hook to the body. I think it was. But yeah, that was just unbelievable.
That's why we're waiting on Tony. Actually, what did you think of Bruno's chin?
I didn't listen. I didn't think it had a bad
stamina,
I don't think so.
See when he got hit, he stayed hit though, didn't he? It was stopped his feet. Most of the time
Stamina
he was stopped
issues
his
as well,
feet.
didn't he have as well?
Yeah.
It's always muscle, wasn't it?
He was actually knocked out standing up all the time, wasn't he? When they go down with it.
Kurt should know he's a big Bruno fan. He hated Lennox Lewis back in the day.
True Brit,
Didn't you, Kurt?
True Brit, Bruno.
there's a jab that could rival Larry Holmes. Big Lennox.
Big Lennox Lewis.
Or flat.
And a great straight right hand as well, Lewis.
Anything else you'd like to say complimenting about Lennox, Kurt?
Great Canadian Olympic hero.
We're going to try and get David Lee back on here, if he's hanging around.
It's a professional podcast waiting for Eddie Hearn this.
Yeah. I can see that happening to us next week, actually. We'll phone him and he won't answer, or he'll say, can you phone back in 20 minutes and stuff, you know.
The sound will keep breaking up. I might today.
Yeah, it's breaking up just now.
Hey, join the call.
We're just so intimidating that they want to duck us.
I know, I mean, after last week's success, so here he comes. David, are you there?
It's typing again. It's typing what he's saying.
He types like you, Tommy.
Yeah, what sledgehammer?
That's Gates.
He's there. David.
Hello?
David, you there, mate?
Yeah, we can hear you, David.
I think he's got a problem trying to get his mic working, actually. I can hear him kind of twisting it.
Just heard him then.
Yeah. David.
Hello?
Alright, you cunt. David, mate, we just heard you there. If you've got a problem with your...
Yeah, he's gone.
He's dropped off. Right, okay. See if you can try and get your mic fixed, mate. We'll get Rocco on very, very shortly. I'll go to the next question while we do. Adam Abramovich. This comes from StephenMan013 on Twitter. For those of us who don't know, just why is it... Well, that's probably not the best question to ask you, but Joe Gallagher. I'll ask you this one from at Will. Is Al Heyman stagnating the careers of his plethora of boxers, for etc. Keith Furman?
Sure. A lot of these people have been put, if not on ice, just not given the types of opponents that they should have to move their careers further. Thurman did have an injury for a little bit this year, but to this point, through 10 months of the year, he's only fought basically 3 rounds against Julio Diaz. And, for as exciting fighter as he is, and as much passion that a lot of people in boxing have for him, the fact that he has been moved properly, he has not been treated, I think, as the star that he should be. His next fight, he's going to be on the undercard of Khan and Alexander, which is hilarious to me because, you have Devin Alexander in a main event. And Keith Thurman is on the undercard. What's wrong with this picture? And, a lot of these guys, and some of it is Heyman's fault, some of it is the fighters. They're just not stepping up. A lot of people have turned down big opportunities, but so I think it's Heyman's caution that's not moving people. I mean, the other great example is what has not happened with Leo Santa Cruz's career.
Yeah.
He's a really exciting fighter at 122 pounds, and he's basically wasting his time fighting nobody. He's turned down offers from the Quigg camp and from other people, and he's just shown no inkling to want to fight the best. Now, maybe some of that is Santa Cruz, maybe some of that is Heyman, but ultimately these guys are not moving the way they should. They're not on TV as much. They're not building the proper momentum. Danny Garcia is another example of fighting an amazing fight last year against Matisse. He had a very close fight against Herrera. I thought he personally lost it. But then he comes back against a completely meaningless fight. So you have all these fighters that are just losing momentum in their careers right now. And, Al Heyman does a lot of things really well. He gets fighters paid to a certain level, but he's not proven that he can move and build superstars in the sport. And so there's a lot of fighters that will be making good money, 6 figures or low 7 figures. I actually wrote about a big article on Al Heyman recently on my site, and people make some money with him, but they're not making the big money because there's no plan to make these people into stars because they're not fighting active enough, they're not fighting enough, they're not fighting the right guys, and I'm not sure he even knows who his real stars are. It's just very strange to me, like why are the Charlo brothers getting 48 dates on Showtime this year? Like, they're not particularly exciting. They're not, they don't really engender a large, passionate following and response from boxing fans. And why is Matisse fighting still on undercards? It's a very strange scenario, what's going on. I can't understand it, but I think he's definitely a hindrance to some of these fighters' careers.
Donnie, you had something they wanted to add there, mate?
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is that I think that one of the big problems is that he has too many fighters and that there's just not enough dates to go around.
It's like Eddie Hearn, isn't it?
Yeah, and so what's happening is that, because he doesn't have that NBC deal in place yet. I know he's trying to do that, but right now his only distribution channel is Showtime because, and a couple of ESPN fights as well. But I mean, those ones are going to be big money. But basically, he's Brendan Bridge at HBO. So he's got all these fighters, and if they want to get big time paydays, like TV level paydays, they have to all go through Showtime, and so all these guys are left on ice. The other problem is that when he does get some of them done, like for instance, he put on Mayweather Maidana 2 undercard. We talked about Leo Santa Cruz. He got $750,000 to fight his former sparring partner. His former sparring partner, that guy was a joke. What did he blast him out in like 2 rounds, 1 round? I mean. Yeah, I mean, it was a complete farce of a fight. And, well, how did he make that happen? Well, he basically, Floyd has his complete trust, and, that was Floyd's money, right? I mean, Floyd didn't need to pay, because usually all the pay-per-view revenue goes directly to the, main event, and that's usually why they screw us on undercards, is because, ultimately that's revenue that should be going to the guys at the top, or at least that's the way it's been traditionally done. So basically, he took $750,000 of Floyd's money and paid out one of his fighters. And I mean, and he was the lucky one who was the beneficiary of that. But what about all the other ones like Thurman? What Thurman's problem is that Heyman represents all the other guys as well that he wants to fight, and Heyman has historically been reticent to match his own guys. I mean, he's doing it a little more now just because he has to, and there's sometimes it's the only sensible fight to make. But he wants to continue to build these guys by having them fight bums and never fighting each other. Heyman probably wants to set up Khan first with Mayweather rather than Thurman. So he's obviously now going to have Thurman fight Khan because what if Thurman knocks him out, right? I mean. It would fuck up something plans he's had. He's not going to have him. Guerrero won't fight him. Guerrero tried to bolt Golden Boy when and move to Top Rank when they tried to match him with Thurman. Maidana has turned down Thurman. And when you start going down the list and you realize, all right, well, Heyman doesn't want to match Thurman with this guy, and this guy just straight up won't fight Thurman. And when you go down the list, you realize why he's fighting Leonard Bundus. So he's another case where it's partially Al Heyman, but it's also partially just the fact that other guys are afraid of him.
I know one guy who would fight Keith Thurman if he was offered the fight, Donnie.
Scotty Cordell.
Who's
Donnie?
that?
Come on, Donnie.
Well, I think Amir would fight him. I just don't think that Heyman will make it. That's all.
Yeah, I can't admit to it. I'm kind of crazy enough to do that, Alex.
I think there's a simple problem with Thurman. Thurman is too good.
Well, seeing that, I think Matty was actually bang on when I remember him making a comment when he still hosted that he says Heyman spent a lot of time, pushing and promoting and everything for Cloner, right? Now Thurman's 10 times the fighter that Cloner will ever be, and he's the one that's getting fucking left behind. I find it weird. Well,
that's what I was talking about earlier with picking and choosing. I mean, why is Matisse fighting on an undercard still? I mean, Matisse is one of the most exciting fighters. Win or lose against Garcia, that was a hell of a fight. Why is he on an undercard? Why is Thurman on an undercard? I understand you have to get these guys fights to some degree, but why aren't they the building blocks? The one thing I like that the that they do in what Sky does and even Frank Warren is they identify, who they believe are stars and push them. They don't care if their opponents aren't always as strong and they'll take the hit. They'll just continue to push them. If Scott Quigg is fighting a lesser guy, they'll still make that the main event and say, listen, this is where your attention needs to be. And I think, rightly so, we don't do that as much in America because there's backlash about uncompetitive matchups. But at the same time, we see enough examples with who's Broner's fought over the years and, some of the other Heyman guys like Berto and Paul Williams. They're not always fighting tough guys. It's just I don't know why certain people are in the favored nation status in the Heyman world and others aren't. Matisse and Thurman should be headlining shows all the time. They should be on. They should each have 3 dates on Showtime where they're headlining shows. And some of this is on Espinoza at Showtime, these guys are crowd-pleasing, exciting fighters that will galvanize the sport. I don't know why they are in the positions that they're at.
Too bad they aren't fighting each other.
It's certainly been he has certainly got a lot of charisma about him anyway, Thurman, he's got a good way of talking about him, which is quite good as well.
And in every interview he does, he says he wants the big fights, he wants to test himself, and he doesn't. Yeah. The most important thing is he said he doesn't care about the he wants to test himself, and as a fan, that's what you want to see. And I for one think, believe him when he says that, and he'd take these fights.
To be honest, as well as I think. Did they not tweet out or put out somewhere that he wasn't happy about a certain fight and says it is what it is, I'm not happy about it and stuff. So he himself is frustrated. The thing as well, I just wonder how this NBC deal is going to work out, but that's obviously another question at the end of the day. But on the line just now we've got Tony. You there, mate?
Hello, mate. Yeah, good morning, mein Damen und Herren. How are we all, chaps?
Not bad. How's it hanging?
To the left.
To the left? Oh, fuck, it means he's all shrivelled up to the right, I think.
How you doing, guys? All right?
Not bad, mate. What's on your mind?
No, just a couple of things. I wanted to talk about Hopkins, but are you doing that now?
We're doing it later on, mate.
Later on? All right. Well, shall I save it for later?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
That's you fucked. That's you fucked.
I don't want to go over. I don't want to go over all the pay-per-view thing.
Go on.
Oh, God.
All right. Go on in. Look, what I was going to say was it's all sort of like speculative, but we've got this one now, and it was going to be Kell Brook on December the 6th, probably against Rios or Lopez, someone like that. He's one of world's.
Wasn't he going to get Rios, mate? No chance was he going to get Rios over.
I thought that's what I thought it was. They was talking about, but someone like Lopez, not a Furman or Marquez who's mentioned it. It was going to be like a bundle. It was going to be one for him to basically come back and
Bundu, I would give you, yeah, but I don't think I'm not saying Rios is like A level, well. But he's still got a lot of money. He still would take a lot of money to get over here. Joe Dan would be another one actually. I think he's quite high up in the IBF.
Yeah, one of them, but someone he should beat really. And I think obviously the plan was, you can only go what you hear from Ian, but it's a voluntary in December, and so. I just wonder who decides they want the pay-per-view. Is it Sky or is it Eddie or is it the pair of them together? But what I'm saying is that was going to be the pay-per-view with Cleverly and Bellew as chief support. But now, after he got cut up and everything, they're saying he's going to be back March. So it's all summarising. But he's got the 31st of January booked, and that looks like it's going to be Frotz to Gal. That will be pay-per-view. Yeah.
I don't see that fight happening, mate.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the fight.
Do you not think?
No. I think Frotz is going to fight again. It's going to be in America. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he retired actually.
But Chavez says he's talking to his lawyer to try to work out with Heyman so that they can make the Frotz fight because Chavez says he wants him and that he can beat him.
But going by what Tony says, Kell Brook, that was the original plan. Kell Brook was going to defend his title in Sheffield, and that was going to be the chief sport. And to be honest, I don't think many people would have had a problem with that being a pay-per-view because you would have had those two fights, and you would have had all these name guys. Maybe you would expect a little bit a few better fights still, but at least you got that, those 2 fights there. But when Cal Brook, obviously got injured and was put out of action, that's when people said, well, that the pay-per-view's gone now. That's not going to headline, but it still is headline, and I think that's the major problem that people have got, that this isn't a massive fight like other pay-per-views are, and and Eddie Hearn said himself, and we'll be asking him, he said himself, it's not a pay-per-view fight in itself, but with a stacked undercard, it makes it a pay-per-view event. But we've seen, it's an A side of names against the B side of people who are not really going to be given much chance.
Do you know what, Kurt? It reminds me of the old like WWF back in the day when the shows each week was like wrestling challenge, and it would be.
Tony, don't get fucking started on the wrestling, mate.
No, but do you know what I mean?
Oh my God.
He's a
wrestling freak.
The wrestling shows were the weekly shows was like just like the new guys, or the the sort of like Axel Jim Duggans against basically 2 blokes that they pulled out of like whatever they were,
the jobbers, man.
Yeah, and they just come out there and they just like smashed them to bits, done all their moves on them, and that was it. Do you know what I mean? And then at the end there would be one fight on there that would be like the Warlord versus fucking. Like you say, and that's what this card reminds me of. It's like you say, it's names on there to look good. Do you know what I mean? To go through their repertoire of moves. But what I'm getting at is like, obviously they obviously planned for a pay-per-view at the end of this year, and then when Kel got injured, they've sort of like thought, well, we're having a pay-per-view. Do you know what I mean? So by hook or by crook, and what I'm thinking now is Brook's not back till March. They're saying that, like, Wembley want another show after the success of last year. They want another show, and I heard him say somewhere that he's provisionally got dates. I think it's the end of June at Wembley. Now he's got dates, but he hasn't got a fight. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you what he hasn't.
I'll be honest.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I'll be honest, is I think some of the questions, what you say, does Hearn want the pay-per-view or is it Sky? Hopefully when we get Hearn, if we get Hearn on Thursday, that is going to be one of the questions we've got to put to him. I don't want to be talking to him too much about the pay-per-view today and Hearn, because it's going to generate potential questions that could be maybe put to him. We don't want Eddie Hearn to hear some of the questions we're going to put to him, because if he sees them, he's going to be prepared for them, and we're going to hit him with what we think are legitimate questions, and we don't want any like wriggle out of it and stuff. We want straight answers, no political moves, and put a question back to us and stuff. We want answers.
Yeah, no, mate, you're right. I mean, I'd come on and asked him that about, but yeah, no, I'm bang on with your hand. Right, and go on.
The one thing I will say, people are going to be worried now that when Cal Brook's back, he's a world champion. His fight's going to be pay-per-view. How long before Anthony Joshua is on pay-per-view? He's building every single fight, and a heavyweight does so well. Look at David Hay when he moved up to heavyweight, how big it was, and Anthony Joshua's. I think that's the worry that many fans have.
Yeah, well, no, that's another thing I don't agree with. When like a fighter, after a certain fight, like Ricky Hatton with Kostya Tszyu, he then becomes a pay-per-view fighter. And it doesn't matter what shit he's fighting against, if it's one Urango or whoever, it's a pay-per-view fight. Do you know what I mean? Now, Froch, after like Kessler 2, then obviously Groves, which a lot of people moaned at, Groves 2, fair enough. Do you know what I mean? Like the second Kessler one, fair enough. But he's now a pay-per-view fighter. So his fights, when he fights now, it is pay-per-view. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that should only be saved for like the elite. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the market demands it. Like, they wouldn't be putting it on there if they didn't think, based on analyses and stuff, that they weren't going to make money off of it. They, also too, some of these guys are going to command a certain amount of money, and if you tell them go fight 3 times a year and take 1/3 of the pay you normally get, you'll be making the same amount. They're going to say no, fuck you. Like, they're going to. Froch in his case could retire. You know what I mean? There's a lot of alternatives that he has. So I mean, Hearn now kind of has to listen to him. In the same way that when a fighter gets bigger, they kind of control their career a little bit more. Look at the way Canelo Alvarez has actively sought out some of the opponents that he wants to fight. Against the promoter. So.
Not a human trumpet.
That's not me, but listen, it's not Andy Patterson, it's Tommy Allen, another Scotsman on the podcast.
Right, on this pay-per-view, because I missed it last week, I've wrote a piece in the week, not expecting any of you to have read it, but I think they've decided it was a pay-per-view date, then they've panicked a little bit after Brooks pulled out and a couple of others, so as is the general consensus, they've stacked it with names but not competitive fights. I put up a solution in the week whereby they could have quite easily have staged Bellew and Cleverly without it being on pay-per-view, and shipped a few of the dates around. They've got December the 6th prize fighter. They could have added someone to the Hall bill the other week. Pissed George Groves off. I don't know why George Groves is on there. He's not promoted by Eddie Hearn. I don't know why they put him on there, and apparently he's on a big whack. So that's disappointing. With Froch de Gale, I still say, and I've said for a while, that Froch would rather retire than fight James de Gale, and I still think that's the case. I think we're more likely to see Kessler than we are de Gale. Obviously, Chavez is the priority at this stage, but it sets a dangerous precedent for the pay-per-views, because now we're going to have James de Gale, Jamie McDonnell, George Groves, obviously, although he's not Matchroom. Them three will have fought back-to-back pay-per-views. Joshua has had a fight in between, so he's fought on 2 pay-per-view cards out of 3 in his last 3 fights. And then where does the winner of Bellew and Cleverly go? If they go on to fight for a world title, I don't know, Hook vacates, moves up to heavyweight, and he chucks the winner of Bellew Cleverly, and are they going to expect to be on pay-per-view? So I think he's setting a dangerous precedent. I think the numbers are going to be poor. I spoke to one of my mates back home in Nottingham this morning, actually, and I said, and he's the type of guy that likes to follow it, from an arm's length kind of thing, watches all the Fox fights, and more than happy to pay that pay-per-view. But the first thing I said to him, I says, Cleverly Bellew, it's on pay-per-view, you're getting it. He says, I didn't know it was on pay-per-view. Didn't they both get knocked out last year? And that's it. That's it. I can't sum it up any easier. They both got knocked out last year. They was arguing on Thursday, as Kurt rightly said. They was arguing over who got knocked out by the better kid. It's a sham. And I think it's going to do terrible numbers. Sky and Eddie will get their fingers burnt. I think there is an element of Sky pushing to bring pay-per-view back. I don't think it's all Eddie. They'll get their fingers burnt. It will do crap numbers, and then we'll be back. We'll be back to square one.
Yeah. Rocco, mate, we need to move on, mate. So we'll leave the Kovalev Hopkins comments to a little bit later on, okay?
Yeah, shall I? Yeah, definitely. Shall I jump back on later or what?
Yeah, well, once we get there, I'll say to Kurt, see if we can get you back on.
No worries, mate. All right, yeah.
Cheers, mate.
No worries.
Thanks.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Right, mate.
Is Dave back on there? We need to try and get him on before we move on to the rest of Twitter questions. Alex, I'll go to you with this Twitter question while we're getting David on. This is for Steve. For those of us who don't know, just why does everyone seem to hate Joe Gallagher?
It's a knob, isn't it? There's not. How can you sum up that? We'd need a whole podcast just to talk about Joe Gallagher. I mean, it's the fact that he tries to push himself as being more important than his fighters. He tries to set himself up as being, the Joe Gallagher show is what, everyone takes the piss out of him for. He's always there at the front of everything, trying to push himself, saying how well he's doing. He's preventing certain fights from happening. We thought that he was the one behind the Quigg versus Frampton fight not happening. He's the one behind Fielding versus Cam Smith fight not happening. And generally, he's just a knob. And the burp sort of sums it up.
I just think he's some fighters, they're trainers. You don't really know they are. You don't hear from them. But Joe Gallagher seems to like the publicity, likes the limelight, and he seems to talk a lot as if he's a promoter more than a trainer. And I think that rubs.
They don't have a documentary made. They don't have a documentary made for him as well.
Yeah,
there was a 5-minute thing on Sky.
Was it? Was it? Right.
Yeah. It was 5 minutes too long, to be honest. He doesn't need it.
Fucking right, it was, man.
I've got mixed views on Gallagher, but I think something that's key is when Crawler fought Murray, Gallagher in the press conference in the talk up to the event was trying to, put a bit of needle in there between Crawler's camp and Murray. But before, during, and after the fight, Crawler spoke. Firstly, he spoke to Murray, which no one else did, but he spoke very well of him as well. So he was kind of going against Gallagher there. So I thought that was key that Crawler did that, and he wasn't influenced too much by Gallagher.
Him and Billy Nelson don't get on very well, for what I understand. I think we've got Dave on the line now. Dave, you there, mate?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, finally we get you on.
I know, it was all your fault.
What's on your mind, mate?
No, just to go back to the last caller, was it Tony, was it?
Tony,
Yeah, he was talking about whose decision it was. My understanding was it was Sky's decision to put this on pay-per-view, because I was talking with Ron Lewis on Twitter on Friday, and he said that the plan was Brooke Malagnagy, maybe, he says, and Khan and Cleverly Bellew. And of course, we all know what happened with Kell Brook, and Khan got moved to December. But yeah, he says it was Sky who wanted a pay-per-view.
Interesting, because I really don't think the I take it you're talking about. You said Can for Brooke, did you say?
No. Brooke Malagnagy and Khan probably in the States. You probably have the UK leg, and then on to America then for wherever Khan was supposed to fight at that time.
Right.
And they could have done that as well, because in the past Sky have done that where they have like a UK leg and then they go to the American. Pacquiao's fighting on the same night, so but obviously Box Nation got the rights to that. But that would have been something that they could have looked at as well if Box Nation didn't get it.
Dave, you buying it, mate?
Yeah, I buy all the pay-per-views because I'm and I'm on Team Eddie as well. So.
Oh, right, you.
But David, is there like something that you wouldn't pay for, like, or is it just that because you're such a big boxing fan and it's not a lot of money, you just pay for it?
Mate, I bought fucking Graham Earl against Kevin Bennett on Satan. Listen, I buy all sorts of shite, but that's just me. do you remember when Cornelius Carr was on fucking pay-per-view? That was back in '99.
Christ.
Do you remember Front Row?
Yeah.
They had fucking Cornelius Carr on pay-per-view. That's God's on his throat.
And you bought that.
Did you buy Graham Hill versus Michael Katsidis too?
That was on pay-per-view.
That was in Australia. Pay-per-view.
Yeah. If it was on pay-per-view, I probably would have bought it. Yeah.
Basically, there's hardcore and there's just like I didn't want to say it.
Speaking of Front Row, though, they showed Tyson Bota back in '99. I don't know. Do you remember that show? No.
Tommy, you were at that fight, were you? No, was it no Tyson Bota?
No, I was at Savarice.
Savarice fight.
Yeah, but their pay-per-view coverage was the funniest fucking thing ever. I don't know if any of you ever saw it, but
no.
They were in this nightclub. I think it was called Shoeless Joe's or something. But they were all drinking pints, and just before the fight started, they were all pissed. So you had like Billy Walker, Frank Maloney. You had Julius Francis. Billy Walker was more concerned about Frank Maloney taking his pint. I mean, it was a shambles of a pay-per-view. It was hilarious, but it was a complete shambles.
Drinking pints, I thought it would have been maybe a long vodka or something.
A shampoo or something.
But on this pay-per-view, though, like this Cleverly Bellew, I mean, I wouldn't mind if the fight, if the undercard could justify the pay-per-view if the fights were competitive. But like some of these fights, I'm looking at it here on the Box Rec listings, and some of these fights are fucking shocking. I mean, Joshua and Spratt's a farce of a fight. No, it is. I mean, Spratt got knocked out by Kelly Meehan in his last fight. Now, Kelly Meehan is 44 years of age, right? Kelly Meehan in his prime was fucking dog shit. Now he's 44 years of age, and he's suddenly the New Zealand version of Mike Tyson. Give me a fucking break.
Kelly Meehan got knocked out Brock, 10 years ago. 10 years ago by Danny Williams.
Dave, why not save your pay-per-view money and go and buy a Chinese or something like that?
Well,
that's all it costs, I don't know how big you are, but it's a big fucking Chinese you'll need to eat for 15 fucking quid.
I know, but I'm a big boxing fan, so I'll probably buy it and watch it.
Right. So, anything else you want to add, mate? You think we're going to go hard on Eddie if we get him on?
No, like I said, I mean, it probably is. He's probably under pressure from Barney Francis and all those lads to put a show on pay-per-view. Now, I know he spoke on iField London about the whole thing about, I wanted to put on a big card and all this and that, but I think that's bullshit. I think he is been put under pressure by Sky to come up with a pay-per-view, and this is what we're getting, this lump of shite on November 22nd.
You're still paying for it. Okay, listen, is there anything we can do to kind of talk you out of it? Not paying for it.
Not really.
David, before you go, if when Bellew loses in the next few weeks, if Chilemba and Bellew 3 is on pay-per-view, would you buy it?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, right, that's it, Dave. I need to let you go now, mate. That was just fucking shocking.
Cheers, mate.
That's funny, mate. Cheers for that. Thank you.
Nice one, mate.
That's the thing with pay-per-view, though. You know, some fans, you know, just they love the sport so much they will happily pay for it. I mean, and they're the fans that they're hoping will carry on paying for this one.
I'll just watch my near HD streams. I think I'll do that.
Talking about pay-per-view, David Shaw, Kurt, or AI. How about discussing pay-per-view? If the Warren 29th card was on Sky, would it be pay-per-view worthy?
Nope.
No. Kurt, what do you think, mate?
Not for me. No, I mean it's a good card. I think that's a really good card. But for me, no. I mean I've said it before. I think pay-per-view should be a major fight or a major star. I mean I've seen people say, "Oh, Mayweather's fights are boring," but you're still talking about the best fighter in the world. I mean you're not talking about that with these fights. As good card as it is, I'd rather see a really brilliant main event that people really want to see and can't wait to see.
See, for a pay-per-view, you've got to have a world title fight at least. Mike Tyson was obviously the exception.
And a pay-per-view star as well.
Of course, but it's a farce. You wouldn't. See if I'd have done that with Brooke Maharaji and I'd have went over to Canada, America. I wouldn't have grudged paying for that. That's fair enough. But as soon as Brooke had to pull out, and obviously when they get in Cannes, they should have just pulled the plug on the whole pay-per-view instead of as a dog shit like Dave says.
We've lost Donny. I think he's had to go away to work. But if you look at that card on the 29th, you've got Derek Chisora, Tyson Fury. There's still rumours going about if the Gary Sykes Liam Walsh fight will probably still go ahead for the British title. Frankie Gavin against Bradley Skeet. Obviously the fight.
Brilliant fight.
Yeah, great fight. It's going to cure insomnia, that fight.
I'm hearing Liam Walsh has been spending his pay-per-view money on takeaways.
Aye, he's like over. I was thinking, for what I hear, he was like £16 over the weight limit, and it's like how long to go? 3 weeks before the fight. Billy Joe Saunders obviously is Chris Eubank. You've got Frank Buglione, Mitchell Smith, Amit Patterson, Romeo on the card, Steve Collins Jr. It's a decent enough card. I mean, there's 2 fights there I want to see, and good luck to it. I mean, it's probably more competitive than the Sky card. Anyway.
I think it's definitely more competitive. You got the main event. Yeah, Fury's the favourite, but people will still make cases for how Chisora can win the fight. The other fight, Gavin and Skeet. Gavin should win that fight, let's be honest, but he's coming off a loss, and you just don't know. And the Billy Joe Saunders fight, I think that is surprising to me. That he's seeming as a more 50-50 as he gets nearer, where I thought Saunders would be the heavily favourite. But to me, that's more competitive. And on that pay-per-view card, you really only got one fight. That's the main event where you can justify both guys winning the fight. The rest of them, like I said, unless something crazy happens, they're not going to win. I mean, Groves is 100-1 on. Joshua's 100-1 on. The other guys, I mean, what are the close 50-50 fights? Eddie said Perry Bannon, DeGale. DeGale's about 20-1 on.
Callum Smith.
I mean, he's 12-1 on. So I mean,
I don't think Parabon should be a 20-1 underdog. I mean, that's a closer fight than I think people are giving him credit for. I mean, unless DeGale looks amazing, which is possible, but that's a decent fight to me. I don't knock that fight. That's the only card. That's the only fight in the undercard I like.
If those odds have went to 20-1 to on that fight, there's been a lot of money being put down because it was like 1-7, I believe. Adam was at one point. Adam Smith.
DeGale's still about 1-7 to win. He's not as short as 1-20. McDonald's about 1-12. Callum Smith.
He's fighting a flyweight. That should be like. You can't put money in that fight.
I think he's 1-12, 1-14, something along them lines.
I didn't want to get riled up and talk about this too much, so we'll move on for the pay-per-view talk just now.
But just speaking on Periband now, that is a lot better fight than what we expected when we knew DeGale was going to be on the card.
Because
he's shit.
It's DeGale's took the fight. That is not an Eddie Hearn fight. DeGale has asked for that fight, and
is that criticism there, Mr. Smith?
Oh yeah, of course it is.
Well done, good man.
But I mean, I need to cement my appearance when Eddie comes on, so I need to keep criticising to get in your lot's good books, don't
I? Next question, I'll go to. In fact, Adam Abramovich, if you had the option, right, what card would you buy out of these two? The Box Nation card with Chisora on it, or the Sky card with Bellew Cleverly?
Oh, I think the Box Nation card is more exciting. I mean, it's a better. Not to mention the fact that I think Bellew and Cleverly aren't even anything great. I mean, I understand there's a personal rivalry, and the first fight was fine. It wasn't great. It was okay. but they're not. They're nothing special. Now, Fury and Chisora may not be special heavyweights, but I think both of them have been in good form in recent fights. I think Chisora is a lot better than he was when he fought their first time against Fury. It's a fun style matchup. I really like the Saunders Eubank fight. I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff there. I mean, I that's a great card. I personally I don't like either Cleverly or Bellator. I mean, I just don't. I don't enjoy. I wrote this on Twitter. I said it's tough for me to pick who wins the fight. Do I go for the one who is completely stupid in the ring, or the one who's completely limited? So I went back and forth. I still don't know. But that's the problem. They're both. I mean, Cleverly, I could be so much better than he is, but he keeps making mistakes, and Bill just isn't. I mean, he's just a straight line fighter, and he has a decent right hand. There's nothing special. I mean, there's nothing captivating or compelling about them.
What we need to remember is Fury and Chisora is a big fight in this country, but because they had the promotion last time and hammered the promotion and it got postponed, that's why I think that the media and especially Frank have had to concentrate on the Saunders and the Eubank match. So I think that's why it's got lost a little bit. But make no mistake, it is a big fight, and I would prefer to pay for that card other than the 22nd if I had to choice.
Next question comes in from Rocco. Tommy, which British fighter failed to fulfil his potential? I'm going to go for what's his name, Errol Christie.
That's a good one.
For pure potential, coming out the amateur game as a world champion, gold medal winner, our only world champion gold medal winner, I'm going to have to say Frankie Gavin right now. For the talent he had and how highly he was touted coming out the amateurs, it's just never really happened for Frankie. You can see the talent's obviously there, but there has been something missing, So I'm going to say Frankie.
An alternative one. I know he made it a long way, but Prince, I think that he chucked it in pretty quick after Barrera did him. He was long odds on to win that fight, and Frank Warren's always said he's the best he's ever worked with. So,
Errol Graham.
Yeah, another one. Yeah.
I think Mitchell should have been better than he's been.
Kevin Mitchell. Yeah, true. Yeah, that's another one. That's probably another one that's probably wasted potential as well.
I think he's knuckling down though, Kevin Mitchell. It could still happen for him.
Probably too late now. That's the problem. But I mean, if he had the discipline that a lot of the other fighters have got, I think he could have done a lot more better things. To be honest.
Next question, I'll go to Alex. Which British boxer has the best looking misses? As Galahad, this generation's is actually two questions here actually, so I'll leave that one just now. Who gives a toss?
Well, it's an interesting topic when the fights were a bit dull, I suppose.
There's only one answer to this, and he is unified super middleweight champion of the world.
But there was a lot of debate over the McDonald's as well. They've got some, interesting partners, I suppose.
Is it just British fighters? Yeah.
I just asked British boxers because if it was, I was going to put a nomination up for Sakio Bika's wife.
I would also make a nomination for Lee Purdy's sister. So I met her in Atlantic City. She is a stunning individual.
What about Tony Thompson's missus?
No, I'm serious. Lee Purdy's sister is a stunning lady.
Or they got close to Kelly Maloney and Big Brother. I mean, I don't know if they're dating, but maybe a shout.
Big Audley's missus is quite nice looking as well. She's lovely.
You got a missus?
Aye, Audley's married. American girl, eh? Okay.
Adam, is Kid Galahad this generation's Junior Witter, i.e. chasing Quigg, just like what Witter did with Ricky Hatton?
Potentially, yeah. He's in a bit of a sticky situation in terms of, there's two big TV channels to be with in this country, and he's with neither of them, unfortunately. So, it could be. I think they'll keep getting him. He does need a name win. He certainly has not got one as of yet, and that's the excuse that Eddie uses when he says he's not ready to fight Quigg yet because he ain't got the name. So Mick needs to do a job, get him a name, because if Mick loses Galahad as well, he's already lost to Gale. Tyson Fury's already out the door in terms of Channel 5. He's going to be in a bit of a mess. So it could end up being the Junior Witter of his generation, but I hope not, because I think he's half decent.
Next question, Tommy. Who's got the worst ponytail for Manasa Mauller here? Kameda, Ponce de Leon, or Matisse?
Ponce de Leon is going to be, man. He's fucking.
Comanche.
Who's a wee gimp, man?
This is bad, like.
I'll leave the last question to Kurt, but this is the one I'll go to Adam Abramovich from John at GF_247. Give me your dream commentary team made up of 3 current commentators and pundits. Seems an apt question with Al Bernstein being on today's podcast.
Yeah, and that would be one of mine.
Yep, definitely.
So, I don't think there is a perfect play-by-play person. Unfortunately, I used to be a big Jim Lampley fan. He's been
over the score now, I think, Lampley now, hasn't he?
I think he's become too much of a homer. His cheerleading has gone over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think it's what it was. He was the best. There's been nobody that's taken his place in America. And I've watched a lot of the fights in the UK, and obviously there's nobody there from a play-by-play perspective.
What was his name? He used to do the Sky pay-per-views. I forget his name.
Ian Dark.
Ian Dark.
Ian Dark was wonderful. He was great. But, I mean, he's not actively doing it anymore. But Ian was wonderful. I like Al Bernstein a lot. I'd probably take the Showtime guys, Bernstein and Malignaggi. I think they're both great. Unfortunately, I don't like Mauro Ranello.
Oh God!
But I think
Malignaggi's really good. I think.
I think they're both really good.
What about Nick Holland?
And the HBO, guys are not. They used to have the best broadcasts.
I think Max Kellerman's. I think he's got a lot better than when he originally came on the scene. He's grown on me. Kellerman.
I'm not a fan, and I'd probably take up too much of your time today talking about I don't like. So.
Is it? Do you think he's a prick?
No, it's just he's a hype man. He's rushing to make comparisons to fighters. Comparing them to Roberto Duran or Hagler. It's just everything he has to hyperbolize everything into something spectacular. He doesn't watch the fights enough. I think he's trying to make. He's a hype man. He's an agenda person for HBO, which is fine, but you miss that little sour dose that Larry Merchant used to have. Like, hey, this fight isn't all that, or if this guy's supposed to be so good, what the hell are we watching? We miss that voice of honesty. Al Bernstein is great because he just doesn't have a lot of agendas. He's really smart. He watches the fights. He breaks down tape, and he also isn't jaded for being in business as long as he has. He still has a love for the sport. He's great. Sometimes his calls may lack a little bit of enthusiasm, but I'll take that. He's a smart guy, and I wish he had better fights to call sometimes, but I think he's excellent.
Max Kellerman loves him some Andre Ward, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he loves fighters from New York, and he likes the dark skin colour.
Roy Jones as well. He loves,
he loves Roy. He loves Roy. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Malignaggi. I think he's been a breath of fresh air, and I think he's that good. It might keep him away from coming back to get knocked out. So I think that's a good thing as well.
Antonio Tarver was pretty good when he was doing it. I like Tarver.
Well, Malignaggi was over here for the Frutch Groves. He did commentary, didn't he? And when he was on there with Hall and Hall, and he must have thought, "What the hell am I doing with these?" You know what I mean?
You go for Al Bernstein to Hall, eh? Oh my God!
I would have.
I'm going to get stick for this, but honourable mention. I used to really like it when Adam Smith from Sky was calling the fights. I know he doesn't anymore, but
he was okay. He was okay.
I thought it was alright. Yeah,
it was alright. Yeah.
For a non-ex-pro, I thought he was decent.
He was okay, but I know a couple of shall we say? I know at least one manager. I know at least 2 fighters who don't rate him whatsoever because. It's that old adage. He's never taken a punch before. He's never been in the ring and all that sort of stuff. It's just there.
With Nick Hall in either. I mean,
I know
on his background.
Someone said.
I'll say this: Adam Smith's call of the Corolla Reese fight is one of the most one-sided, disgusting calls I've ever seen. It was
what did they say again?
Adam Smith's call against it was the Corolla Gavin Reese fight. Was the most one-sided pro-Corolla display I've seen in my years.
I thought Reese won that.
Yeah, I did too. And you watch that, and it's like Reese didn't even land a punch. I mean, it was an awful, embarrassing call. So I've seen him before. That was so awful that I never want to see him again.
What do we think about legends George Foreman and Manny Stewart? How did they do?
Oh, see when George Foreman dressed down fucking Jim Lampley for his Allah comments. That was a thing of beauty.
When you're watching the fights with George Foreman on, you just get the impression that Larry Merchant especially just doesn't believe what he's saying he's right at all, does he? And he says something and he goes, well, how'd you work that out, George? And he'd explain it, I just think I did like listening to George. He said some funny stuff, and I think
he talk a lot of shit sometimes within
he did.
Who, George
Foreman? Yeah.
Let's in honour of Manny Stewart, let's Leasley put out one of his best commentaries on the commentary. Oh my God!
Yeah.
What fight was that again?
That was Andre Berto against Victor Ortiz.
Victor Ortiz. Aye.
What about the great Canadian boxer Lennox Lewis? He was good on the mic.
Oh God, he was painful.
Lewis
was painful. What about Paul Smith?
His commentary was nearly as good as his assistant training.
Paul Smith,
Canadian accent just got to
me. We'll move on before Paul has an aneurysm.
Or quickly, Barry Jones.
Barry's with me. I like Barry on the Bunzy podcast. I like him. He's quick witted as well. I like Barry.
Bunchy's not a bad commentator. Sure, when he does it.
Aye.
He's quite good.
Like, last question comes from Jay Dilla. Kasim, this is the last question before we move on to the critically acclaimed and well-known Bellew of the Week segment. Kurt, with the Fury Chisora card coming and talks of Chisora possibly fighting maybe Fury, how would the panel describe the career of one of the greats, Joe Louis?
Well, we discussed him before on the heavyweight. I mean, arguably the greatest heavyweight, him or Ali. I think it's, out of them two. I mean, some will go with the other guy, but I mean, Ali's more in he's more known to us because he's fought the names who we know. Louis fought in a different time, but I think many people have Joe as number one. I think that's right. I mean, he fought everyone. He had the pressure of a nation on him when he fought Schmeling, and he got beat by Schmeling. But in the rematch, the war was going to happen, and the whole pressure of it. And what did he do? He dismantled him in one round, and I think he got acceptance from obviously not just black African Americans, but white people. Wanted him to win and cheered for him, and to do that in the time, I think that says a lot about Joe. He's a great fighter, but a great man outside the ring as well. And I think, look at his record, look at the amount of defences, and he couldn't fight because of the war as well for a few years. And just how many defences would he have had? I mean, no one will beat his defences.
You think Klitschko won't beat the defences? How many has he got to get? Is it there 4?
No, I think it's more than that.
Anthony Joshua will get to him before that.
Ban him from the podcast right now.
Anyways, guys, we've got the Bellew of the Week segment coming up shortly. Kurt's going to play the intro while he's setting it up. Just to let our listeners know, as we've got it confirmed, Tony Bellew does and is aware of this segment, and apparently he's not very happy about it. But
he thinks we're all fucking rats.
Fucking we do, it's just a bit of fun at the end of the day. It's just like we're looking at funny comments, etc. throughout the boxing universe. But it is what it is. So Tony, don't take offence, mate.
At the end of the day, they don't know me. They don't know nothing about me. It's as simple as that.
If we ever see Tony in the street, we'll just tell him Andy. It was Andy's idea, so...
It was my idea. I need to get this copyrighted.
You can feel the power of Tony.
Yeah.
Has Tony actually won this great honour before?
He's won it a few times.
He's champion emeritus.
Wouldn't it be funny if Eddie Hearn comes on Thursday and we use recordings of him for the next Sunday's podcast for Bellew of the Week?
Aye, if we could do. I think Adam, did you check your odds, mate? How much he open up as to win this week?
Bellew to win it this week?
Yeah.
Oh, odds on. Massively odds on, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
There's more chance of George Groves slipping on the banana skin that he's Dennis Douglas.
Oh, God.
Bellew not winning this.
Here we go. Right, Kurt, get that intro played, mate. Let's get the show on the road.
Beat me up, and that's all I've got to say about that. But let's do it right now. We can do it right now, you fucking rat!
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. It's shall we say, a very strong lineup this week. Very strong lineup indeed. First nomination goes to Eddie Hearn. Now, in fact, he's got the first 2 nominations up this week. One comes from the paper. Comments regarding George Groves, his fight against Dennis Douglas. The November 22nd show now features George Groves fighting against Dennis Douglin. I see this as a massive banana skin for Groves. On paper, he should be comfortable, but I rate Douglin close to Christopher Fabrizi, who took George a distance in his last fight. For Douglin, this is his big chance to make a name for himself. For Groves, you have to wonder how driven he is after what happened to him against Carroll at Wembley. The second nomination goes to Eddie Hearn again on the Coyle against Katsidas fight. The way they both handled themselves on my whole show at the weekend was perfect. Coyle pulled off a stunning knockout against the brilliant and well-prepared Michael Katsidas. Katsidas spent 7 weeks over here preparing but had no answer to Coyle. Now, I've got one here from Tony Bellew. He goes on about on the ringside. He says he's never said he's got one punch power, but then he screams in front of a television camera. He says, "Power! What?" Who else we got? CW actually sent me this one, and it's regards to American commentator on the New Zealand against the America rugby game, describing Sonny Bill Williams as a 6-time heavyweight boxing champion. He's only had 6 pro fights. Anthony Fowler, I think he won the Commonwealth Games gold medal recently, actually.
Yeah.
He says, "It's not where you come from that matters, it's where you end up. If you're born poor, that's not your fault. If you die poor, that is your fault." Wow. And the last one I've got this week is Abner Cotto and his trainer for basically faking and diving after the end of the 5th round of their fight last night. So that's the nominations I've got this week. Adam Abramovich, you got any nominations this week for any funny comments, disgraceful comments, or just plain idiotic?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything's beating the photo performance. So, I mean, that was special in its own way. Of course, the ref actually in that fight, I believe his last name is Hall. That was Lou Hall. That was pretty awful too. So and we didn't even talk about it. So Fortuna, Cotto hits Fortuna behind the head twice, and then not only then it goes to the canvas. Not only does Hall count as a knockdown, which was awful because these were 2 obvious Robert punches. Breaking up behind the head. So he basically misses it on both ends. I don't seen that. So he got the call wrong a couple ways. He was just awful. But anyone from the Cotto and Lou Hall would be my bill of the.
So Adam's putting up probably the referee and Abner Cotto. Adam, you're breaking up a wee bit slightly there, mate. Tommy, mate, you got any nominations?
Yeah, mine was simply Tony Bell.
We've lost you, Adam. Kurt, give me your nomination, mate.
I'm gonna go for Bowie, but I can't really pick one. The whole ringside episode, I mean, the way he snarled, he's not an angry man after being told he was an angry man, was just, I mean, the whole thing. He has to win it for me.
Okay.
The specific comment from him that I most laughed about was when he was mocking Nathan Cleverley's world title reign. Basically said Nathan Cleverley won a vacant title, but Tony himself has never won a professional belt. You know, any belt throughout his entire career, the British belt, you know, any of those international belts, every single belt he's won has always been a vacant belt.
Interesting. Tommy, mate, who's your nomination?
I agree with Kurt. It's going to be Tony Bellew for the ringside. He went through the full repertoire, didn't he?
Adam Smith, we got you back, mate.
Yeah, sorry. So, Bellew make me, and then the other one, I don't know if someone has mentioned it, but when he said that Kovalev was just a puncher, I did actually nearly fall off my chair.
I really think that, you know, there's not really much point in me making a vote this week. I think it's almost practically unanimous that Tony Bellew is winning his own award this week.
I think he's outdone himself, even by his high standards of Bellew of the week. Like Tommy said, we got the full repertoire. It just ran away with him. He didn't even know what he was saying most of the time.
The thing is, Sky are doing the behind the ropes episode like a 24/7 in America, and they're also doing the gloves are off, which is basically, you know, like when they're sitting on the chairs facing it, like a face off. So
they've already recorded that.
Yeah, I dread to think what's going to be said in that one.
It's ironic too, because the psychiatrist that actually spoke about him, or the sports psychologist, is actually Sean Ryder, who we've actually interviewed on this show before. So we need to get him back on to see what he thought. Tony was actually kind of, kind of contradict himself slightly. I mean, I never watched.
Tony,
I knew it was going to be getting pushed up here.
Tony was really angry and basically called Sean a fat bastard, to be honest. So he came really harsh, to be honest, I thought, and I felt sorry for Sean because he was only giving his opinion, and all he said was, Tony uses too much anger and takes it into his fights, which I don't think anyone disputes.
There's potential that Bellew could win the Bellew of the Week every week this month. Easy.
That could happen, yeah.
That could easily happen, yeah. Okay, will be a record. So, listen, gentlemen, I think we've got to give applause to the main man himself, Tony the Bomber Bellew. Well done, sir.
Well done, Bomber. Well done.
Easy. Now, guys, I think we're running at 1 hour 40, considering we've got the Bernstein interview to go in. Before we go to the big fight, we're going to discuss very briefly. This is the week. What date was that again? I think it was the 30th of October, which I think was just last Wednesday there. Thursday past, sorry. It's 40 years to mark the Rumble in the Jungle fight between Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. One of the iconic fights in boxing history. Muhammad Ali, he was basically, I think he had to wait 7 years to regain the title that was cruelly stolen from him. Obviously I'm not old enough to remember the fight in detail. I don't know who is. Adam, what age are you, mate?
He's not that old.
No.
No, you remember it? I think you need to be at least 50. I think you need to be at least the 50 mark to remember this fight. But I don't know. I mean, some people are saying the rope-a-dope tactics were wrong. People kind of over type of analyse the fight. I felt I think Ali felt himself that the canvas was too soft. He couldn't dance and move for that. I mean, at the end of the day as well, he's actually 7 years removed from his prime. Also, the first version of Ali was probably absolutely magnificent. But one thing that always struck me after he stopped Foreman actually is, did you ever notice how the body punishment that he took was right after the fight? People were trying to hug him and lift him up, but he was trying to push him back off him because obviously his rib cage was absolutely breaking in bits and stuff. But 60,000 people, I believe, jammed into that stadium in Kinshasa, which I think it's now called the Congo now, actually. So, guys, Adam Smith, I'll give it to you, mate, to take away if you want to discuss the fight, if you watched it anyway.
Well, it's just an obviously an iconic matchup that really did kind of shape boxing history and will always be remembered. It's just, I mean, if you just look back on it now, an amazing event whereby the two premier heavyweights or premier names at the weight have gone to Zaire, as it was called at the time, been paid $5 million each, which even in today's money is staggering. Like, not many people get $5 million nowadays. There's some obvious candidates, some of which are fighting this month, but there's not many below the top echelons that get that money. So to get that in 1974, $5 million each was amazing. The fight obviously got delayed, I think, by 5 or 6 weeks due to an injury, and it's funny with all the broadcasters and many of them were newspaper reporters back in the day, stayed on the bandwagon, if you like, for that time. No one went home. Both fighters continued the training camp in Zaire, and obviously fight night came, and it must have just been an amazing time, really. There was no internet back in them days, obviously, to put Zaire on the map, and it was a really proud event for the country as a whole. There was I mean, it's not worth, I don't know anywhere near as much about it as what you guys will, but this week on Thursday there was a 2-hour show on Talk Sport all about it, and that had Colin Hart, Gareth A. Davis, they was on there, and they do it from start all the way through the fight and in the aftermath. So rather than listening to me, that's definitely worth a listen. It was fantastic 2 hours, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Tommy, see, one of the things that is probably iconic about that fight also is, see when Ali landed that right hand that finally put him down, you could actually see, he actually probably had another scope to land another punch there, but it was like he just watched, history just, behold in front of himself. It's like he just watched Foreman go down. He could have hit him again. I thought that was just one of those moments he wanted to kind of savour it. It's just like art form, basically.
Yeah, I read an article a couple of years ago, and it best described it as poetry in motion. He could have landed another shot. He could actually maybe landed another 2 shots, but he just Foreman was on the way down, and it was incredible the way they let it go, and yeah, it's a bit of history there.
I remember Reg Guttridge actually. I don't know if anybody what version of the fight you've got it on DVD or whatever. But I've got I think I've got both versions, and I've got the one with Reg Guttridge when he says, you know, Reg was never one of those guys to overhype things or over dramatise things and stuff. I mean, one of the questions I actually wanted to ask Al Bernstein, you know, how these commentators are constantly talking all the time, because in the past they would maybe be quiet and they maybe just let the fight play out. Right after the fight, he wasn't like going, "Oh my God, oh holy fucking shit," and all this stuff. You know, Reg was calm and clear. Went like, goes, "He's done it. The great man has done it. He's regained his title." I thought, you know, he didn't go schizophrenic about it. He left his booth, went up to the ring to try and interview Ali. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. I've never actually heard the Guttridge version. I need to even get a copy of that. Obviously, the one I've listened to has been with Bob Sheridan, Joe Frazier, David Frost, and Jim Brown. It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I actually thought Joe Frazier was hilarious during the fight. Every time it went to Joe, he didn't really have an opinion on the fight, did he? He didn't want to give Ali any credit, and obviously George had knocked him out.
Gritted teeth.
He scored pretty much every round even, didn't he?
Kurt, Alex, Adam, Abramovich, just tell me your own thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look back to realise just how much of a beast Foreman was looked upon. You know, a bit like, you know, was it 10 years earlier with Sonny Liston, you know, the man no one wanted to fight, or everyone was intimidated by, you know, Ali did it then, but that was when he was young. That's when he had all the speed and the legs. He didn't have that anymore, and he was on his way out. It was looked, you know, you could compare it a little bit to like this fight that's coming up with Hopkins, you know, an old guy going against a puncher who, you know, people don't want to fight, and Foreman had destroyed Joe Frazier. He made Frazier, who everyone knows is a great champion, he made him look like an average fighter who didn't belong in the same ring as him. He destroyed Kenny Norton. Kenny Norton gave Ali 3, you know, terrible fights, and, you know, gave him hell in all of them. And, you know, if that fight was taking place this weekend, I don't think there'd be too many people picking Ali to get the win, to be honest. Foreman was, you know, he was just a physical beast, and, you know, so strong, and the way he pushed Joe Frazier around the ring, you know, like a small kid. But, you know, it was a huge gamble to fight the way Ali did, you know, having to take that punishment for how long he did, you know, believing that after a few rounds Foreman would, you know, he was not maybe that smart at the time in the ring. He'd you know, try and get him out of there, and he'd blow his load and he wouldn't have much left, and, you know, it paid off, you know, but it could have easily went wrong, really, but he went for it, and, you know, he stood up to him and faced him, and it's a great win. In my opinion, it's the best win of his career.
You know who I actually feel bad for, obviously having lived and seen the fight and being great friends with both of them? Our friend from the website, CJ.
That must have been a terrible day for him.
Yeah.
Donnie's just telling me in the chat just now that Reg Guttridge wasn't on the commentary. I'm sure he was. Wasn't he? Did they not do the British?
The commentary I've seen was I know David Frost, Colonel Bob Sheridan.
I need to go back and check that. I thought it was Reg Guttridge. I could have been talking shit there, obviously, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Alex, Adam, you want to weigh me your final thoughts before we move on to the fight schedule?
Yeah, just real fast. I mean, it was a phenomenal display of courage and strategy from Ali, and it also showed you how much he was willing to take in order to win. It was just a gutsy, gutty performance. It was really incredible. I mean, some of those early rounds, you just see Foreman slaughtering Ali against the ropes, and eventually the turns, and it's just a stunning. I just don't think it was such a performance, I guess, in heavyweight boxing history. Not only the history of Ali and what that meant for him.
Adam, you're breaking up, mate.
Personally, but just watching the fight and unfold that way. Watching the fight unfold that way, it was it was something. It was so unpredictable, and it was something so exciting, and it was just wonderful stuff. I mean, a fascinating fight to watch. You know, with everything that occurred leading up to it, and then in the ring, it was just amazing, and I don't think something will be duplicated.
No.
I think a little news story that came out this week, not really significant, but the ring has actually been stolen. That news came out this week that the ring from that day has actually gone missing quite recently as well. So pretty sad news.
One of the good comments from Ali who loved at that fight, he says, if you think the world was surprised when Nixon resigned, wait until I'm what 4 months behind. Anyways, guys, don't think Alex is wanting to weigh in on this one, so have you got something to say, mate?
Well, nothing much. I mean, everyone's pretty much said it already. I mean, it's just, the most iconic fight, I think, that anyone who's never even really heard of, watches boxing or pays any attention to boxing knows about the Rumble in the Jungle. They know about Muhammad Ali. And I think that this fight introduced so many important figures to the boxing world. Obviously, Don King was a big part of this. This is, probably the most important win in Ali's career. I mean, if you haven't seen it, what are you doing? You shouldn't be listening to this. You should be watching that fight right now.
Well said. Although, please listen to us until we finish up. Fight schedule, guys. Thursday the 6th of November sees Oswaldo Novo against Wan Heng Mithon from Thailand, which is a WBC strawweight title fight. That fight will be on Thailand Station 7, so I dare say a copy of it will be made. Please say your usual outlets. And moving on, obviously, I think we've got Robert Stieglitz against Felix Sturm, which is coming from Germany. I think that's a final eliminator to face Arthur Abraham. Adam Smith actually flagged it up to me as well. This fight's actually at a catch weight, 166.25 pounds, I believe. So
yeah, I think the catch weight's been done in kilos. So the official catch weight in pounds, I believe, is it's 166.5. So it's 1.5 pounds. Below
that might actually maybe no suit Stieglitz, because he seems to be quite a big super middleweight.
Yeah, I think is a big super middleweight. I mean, I've been looking through the fight earlier today. So I mean, Sturm's form since he fought the two Brits in 2011 has been pretty poor, to be honest. He's got obviously he's lost on points 3 times to Australian visitors since then. One of them was Solomon when he was on drugs, but gone are the days when we thought that Germany was a lot more biased than Britain. That idea has gone right out the window. He got obviously got a win against that whatever his name was, Radosevich, overly matched, but had an undefeated record. And then his most recent win was Darren Barker, and we all know what was wrong with Darren on that day. So he's not got great form in the book, Sturm. And I think he made middleweight quite comfortably for a while. Made a lot of defences. So he's definitely an unnatural weight. He's got home advantage, and it is purely a 50-50 fight. So never mind what Matchroom say about their 50-50 fights. This is actually one. So both fighters are available at 10 to 11 in the betting, and I think Stieglitz is. So if he can get down to that 1.5 pounds, comfortably, and in a healthy condition, I think his work rate, should pose Sturm a lot of problems. He likes to normally control the pace. We saw Stieglitz come out against Abraham a couple of years ago, or maybe less than that, and absolutely blew him away. So if he's in that kind of mood, he could do similar to Sturm. Obviously, we haven't seen Sturm stop forever. So I think it'll be interesting while it lasts, but really it's kind of happening too late. Sturm's been a bit of a poster boy in Germany, but he hasn't had many domestic rivals to face. And then, like you say, the winner goes on to Abraham. But who wants to see Abraham and Stieglitz 3? I mean,
4.
4. It wouldn't be at the top of my list. So
definitely not.
I can see it going the distance. But what we've got to remember is Stieglitz struggled somewhat with Kamitsky in July, and the stoppage to that was controversial in that pulling Kamitsky out. The officials pulled him out with some sort of injury. So he wasn't doing great against a 39-year-old Kamitsky, and now he's facing Sturm, who, he's famed almost for the money he brings in on TV. Sturm, so obviously any further fights that he can win, and build bigger fights down the line. So I think they'll both be hungry for it, but it just pivots on that 1.5 pound difference really. And we'll see what goes on.
Coming from Poland, it's a pay-per-view in Polsat. Thomas Adamek against Arthur Spilka. I think it's a crossroad fight for both fighters there. Obviously, you had Al Bernstein earlier on there saying about he's going to be in attendance at the Channel 5 event in United Kingdom, the Bob Ajisav Travis Dickinson fight, which is, I believe, the final of the Maxi Muscle Nutrition final light heavyweight tournament. And Lenny Dawes fights for the European Championship also at light welterweight. But the main card, the main fight actually, Adam Abramovich is going to be in attendance at ringside. Adam, hopefully your mic's not cutting it, mate, because you were kind of cutting in and out there. But let us know you're going to be in attendance. You believe the big man, the old man, the granddad, the old age pensioner, Bernard Hopkins is going to pull off the massive upset, I would say, against Sergey Kovalev.
Well,
yeah, mate, you're breaking up there.
Achievement from his age, but am I breaking up?
Yeah, mate,
you're
kind of cutting in and out a wee bit.
Any better?
Let's try that again, mate.
Is that any better?
That's better, yeah.
Great. I mean, it would be.
You're away again, mate.
Massive.
You're breaking up again, mate.
I'm trying. Let me try one other thing. Hold on. Come back to me in a second and see if I can get this sorted out.
I'll have
Tommy,
a bash. I'll have a bash. Sorry. Well, I think it's a strange one, really. We've spoke about this in a few pods, over the months. As we've mentioned, it's kind of weird that it's the most intriguing fight and the most anticipated fight of the year. So it's been pretty average in terms of matchmaking at the top level. They've got Kovalev's about 1-2 with the bookies, so and it's no surprise to see why 13 knockouts on the spin, undefeated, etc. But there's a lot of questions are going into the fight for him. Never been beyond 8 rounds. So how will he handle Hopkins' mind games for a start? Potential dirty tactics. I think it could come down to experience. I know Kovalev's well travelled, but I don't think he'll have ever encountered anything like Hopkins. No one has really nowadays, have they? But I think the pure fact, and our friend Mr. Bellew was alluding to it on ringside last week, that Hopkins has chose this fight, at 49, and with a record that he's got, and the position of power that he's in from a promotional standpoint, it's got to be a tip in itself, or it's got to be a hint in itself that he has chosen to fight Kovalev. He could have got away with not fighting him, could have gone down a different route. So I think that's a tip in himself. He's obviously seen something there where he can exploit the Russian, but it's no one wants to write him off. I can imagine that people are also going to say everything points towards Kovalev. He's got the power, the youth, he's got the output that I think you need against Hopkins. He will come forward, which I think is something else you need against Hopkins. But all things point towards a Kovalev win. Many fingers will point towards Kovalev stoppage, but you just can't write off Hopkins. He is pretty awesome, and I think that people like me would kind of respect Hopkins more. But for the comments about what he made about Sir Joe before Sir Joe went on to beat him, I think there'll be probably a few on here that would have more respect for Hopkins, but that's for another day. So, but I think it's a good fight that obviously we're really looking forward to. I think that Kovalev will do him. I can envisage a situation where quite early Kovalev has some success, and I think Kovalev needs success for himself early, because if not, the demons in his head might start. Can I hit this bloke clean? He's winding me up, frustrating me. So I think Kovalev needs some success early, and I can see a situation whereby he does have a reasonable bit of success early, lands, and Hopkins realises that every single punch that Kovalev throws and lands hurts, and I think he'll go into pure survival mode, like he did against. Well, he didn't go into survival mode against Chad Dawson in the second fight, but he didn't exactly go for it late on when it was quite clear that it was behind. I know one judge gave it a draw, but he didn't exactly go for it on that night. And I think he will almost celebrate or hold on to the fact that he goes the distance with Kovalev and he's the first man to take him 12 rounds.
Let's try it. I'd one year, mate. Try now.
Yeah, does that sound?
Nope.
No, mate.
All right. I may drop off then, but thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
All right.
Thanks, mate. Sorry about that. Rocco's been saying in the chat there, if it's better for the future of the sport if Kovalev wins, but if B-Hop wins, then it's a more great win for him personally. Tommy, mate, you are of the opinion as you can't wait. You're calling him Bornard. You're thinking he's going to get smashed and knocked out.
I'm not a fan of Bernard Hopkins. Everybody knows that. I think he's one of the worst fighters to watch, and he's also, just to put it bluntly, he's a cheating bastard, isn't he? He's
honestly, I love it.
He leads with the head, low blows constantly. He tries to fake injuries to win fights. I hope Kovalev decimates him and we never see him again. But to be honest though, with the bullshit, who's time there? Jesus Christ. Anyway, without the bullshit, you've got to give him credit. He is a great fighter. He's been around the game for a long time. He has beat world class fighters. He's been in the pound for pound rankings for a long time. But I cannot see past Kovalev win this fight. He's near 50 years old, Hopkins. Kovalev has went in the last 4 years. He has never been taken past 8 rounds. The two people that have went 7 rounds on, one has landed up in the hospital with smashed ribs, and the other has landed up in the mortuary. Simakov. Obviously, rest in peace, but like the old Rocky film, what this guy hits, he destroys. I think Kovalev is going to win the fight. He's also got a big advantage in having Jackson in his corner, who's also fought Bernard Hopkins, and he's also been in Bernard's camp and his training camp as well. So that's a big plus for him. I think Sherry's going to win the fight. I think he's going to do it impressively. We first to stop Hopkins.
This says, well, Adam Abramovich is going to be ringside next week. It's just unfortunate his mic's acting up, but what we'll do is we'll get Adam on next week. Adam, we'll try you again, mate, see if you're there.
Still mic issues, I imagine.
No, try. On you go, mate. We'll let you know.
All right, thanks, man. Take care.
Cheers. Alex, I was of the opinion now, let me get this right now. Floyd Mayweather, right now, he's got this 0. Okay, now he's going about saying he's the best ever, and this sycophantic bullshit of all his followers and stuff. He's going to be the best ever, better than Sugar Ray Robinson. Bullshit, right? Tommy always says he's maybe top 30, top 40 at best. If Hopkins pulls this off, does he or should he be ranked higher than any all-time great list than Floyd Mayweather?
Absolutely. Even taking this fight, I think, puts him in a position where he should be ranked higher than Floyd. I think this is an insanely difficult fight, an insanely challenging fight. He is basically on par with Floyd going up and fighting Golovkin at this stage, I think. I think if we were talking about if Hopkins wins it matters how he wins it. Obviously, we know Hopkins can be very dirty, he can cheat, he can use very snide tactics, and I think that if he just does that against Kovalev in a way that's really ugly, and possibly, headbutts or cheats or wins through quitting in the sense that, he headbutted me, he's trying to get out and faking an injury and all this rubbish. If he does it through that, then obviously it's going to taint the record, it's going to taint how people view him. But if he genuinely does win this, if he doesn't win it as a robbery or anything like that, or even if it's just a close fight, then we'll be discussing for weeks where Bernard Hopkins ranks, where he is amongst the all-time greats, because no fighter has done anything like this. I mean, Archie Moore, he went on for ages. Roberto Duran, he was still fighting. He could still probably be fighting now. I mean, he's that sort of crazy that he'd be willing to do it. But Bernard Hopkins is fighting at the top level of boxing and still in with a brilliant shot of beating Kovalev, a man that many people rate as one of those dangerous punchers in the game. For Kovalev to do this, and I think Kovalev will do this, he just needs to keep punching. He just needs to keep the volume up. We know Kovalev's really good at that. He throws, nearly 100 punches around sometimes when he's at his absolute best, but can he keep that up against Hopkins? He has to. He has to keep punching this man's arms, punching his shoulders, punching, not the targets that he wants to hit, because Hopkins will make him miss. Hopkins will make him hit his elbows, hit nothing. But he can't get disheartened by that. He just has to keep swinging away, and that power will break Hopkins down. He's a 50-year-old man in a 50-year-old man's body who's been in how many fights has Hopkins had? Nearly 70 now, I think, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's got wear and tear. He's going to wear down if you keep just swinging on him. And it's all down to Kovalev's conditioning and his stamina, I think, in this. I don't think that, unless he catches him with a real peach of a shot and just knocks him spark out really early, he's just going to have to wear him down, take him really late, and Hopkins is just going to be a drained old man. And we'll see him as an old man. And he might stop him really late.
Well, that's what Adam said. Obviously, Adam had to drop off because of his mic, but he left a comment here, just touched upon what Alex finished off with there. He said, "I'll give one opinion about the fight. If Hopkins takes it past the first few rounds, he will have a very good chance to win the fight. I see this being a split decision type of fight." Kurt, you are in agreement with Rocco. If Hopkins wins, it's a great win. You can't knock the old man, but at the same time, if you want to freshen things up a bit, Kovalev has got to do the business. And the other thing as well is Kovalev is actually expecting a baby boy shortly, I think. So he's maybe got that playing on his mind as well a little bit.
Well, I mean, for me it's like this. I really rate Kovalev, big fan. I don't see how anyone can't be a big fan of Kovalev. But to me, if he can't beat a 50-year-old man, then that says, he's not as good as I thought he was. As much credit as we can give Hopkins, I've given him loads of credit for taking the fight. If he wins it, it's a huge win. Incredible that he's done it at this age. But it's got to come down to Kovalev. He's basically the Golovkin of the light heavyweight division. He has to beat Hopkins. He has to. There's no excuses. I don't care how good Hopkins is. He's 50 years old and he has to beat him. And I think he has to look good doing it. I don't think Hopkins will be stopped. He's just one of those fighters like James Toney. He'll be able to fiddle his way through. He's got all the tricks in the book. He has been around this game, without picking up everything he knows. And I just think he'll be a Kovalev wide-ish decision. I think the activity will just be too much for Hopkins, and maybe after 7-8 rounds maybe it'll be too much and maybe he will be stopped, but personally I just can't see it myself. I think Hopkins will see the final bout. But, look what Chad Dawson did. Easy victory against him. That's what you got to do to a man this age. You've got to do it. I mean, Jean Pascal lost against him. I thought both fights he lost against him. That tells you about Jean Pascal. He's just not good enough in the grand scheme of things. And
four-round fighter, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And he's not taking anything away from Hopkins. I'm like Tommy, and I'm not a big fan of him, but I got to respect him. But he's 50 years old. In other sports, this guy wouldn't stand a chance in other sports, and he shouldn't stand a chance against Kovalev coming up. And on the subject of Floyd and Hopkins is ahead of him for me. Forget the talent. Yeah, we all know Floyd's more talented than most boxers, but Hopkins has got the most out of his what he was blessed with. Look at the wins he's got. You can say he's lost to this guy, lost to that guy, but he's still here and he still gets back. Losses shouldn't be. How many losses have some of the greats got? The loads. You can't use that. Marciano, I don't know. Does that mean he's the best heavyweight? It doesn't mean it. The fact is, I'd respect Floyd more if he fought the guys we want to see him in, lost, comes back and carries on winning. Who cares? You're a great fighter. He doesn't do it though. He takes the easy route, and everyone knows that.
I think the only on Hopkins' legacy, the only slight I really have on it is he's lost to the best fighters he's faced. That's just a fact. Roy Jones Jr., Joe Calzaghe. There you go.
Chad Dawson.
Well,
Jermaine Taylor.
Yeah, the best fighters he's faced. He's had a lot of trouble with speed over the years. Fighters who are quick give Bernard Hopkins trouble. So there you go. I think personally he's lost to the two best fighters he's faced, and I think that I would have a hard time putting my head in Mayweather because I'm not a Mayweather fan either. So isn't bias saying this?
Would, if in the same situation, to say if Hopkins had the same mentality as Mayweather, would he have even fought those guys?
No, probably not. No, you're right.
I think with Hopkins, with Mayweather, he's had for a long time now. He's had the options. He's the powerful guy. He can pick and choose, kind of thing. With Hopkins, he's a bit similar to Hagler, where he came up and he struggled to get the big fights. He couldn't get them, and until he fought Trinidad, really. I mean, what age was he then? 35, 36 when he got that fight. I mean, he was considered close to being done when he fought Trinidad. And the fact is, to me, it's not so much about the losses. He beat Trinidad, which was a shock. He then moved up and beat Tava. He lost to Joe, yeah, fair enough. But he came back, schooled Pavlik. Yeah. He came back again, beat Pascal, and he's lost to Dawson. Now here he is again. I mean, he's always there. You can't get rid of him, and that's why for the, you know, I've said it before, Hopkins is going to have to be blasted out of there to retire. If he loses a decision like he did against Dawson, he can still compete and he can still pick up titles. Kovalev, you know, to retire him, he's going to have to blast him out there, and if the one man to do it, it's Kovalev.
The question here is, gentlemen, though, is, you know, we're giving all these plaudits and credits for taking the fight. I mean, it's a huge risk for a guy his age. I mean, Kurt and I were talking earlier on today. You know, Kovalev is a mean dude. He just doesn't give a fuck. You know, he's killed someone in the ring. Okay, and I think, who was it he knocked out? Was it Silak?
Israel Silak, and he stood over him.
He stood over him. It's like he sneered at him. And this guy is a total badass, right? So would anybody actually be surprised if Hopkins were to bail like he did in the first Dawson fight?
The thing is,
that's Andrew. I think that's a strong possibility that's happening. Hopkins is going to look for a wee out this fight. I think he's going to look for a DQ victory.
And you got to remember when he fought Cleverly as well, and he got a bit of grief from the crowd, and after he beat Cleverly, he got on the rope and he pushed his hand up, you know, to the crowd. Well, Sir Joe was in the crowd and he had the bottle to do that, so this guy just doesn't care. Because Sir Joe,
he obviously didn't know Sir Joe was in the crowd, and they wouldn't have done that.
Well, I think he quickly spotted him and he quickly got off the ropes and just walked back to his corner.
There's another question then. Who wins that fight? Kozagi Kovalev? Yeah, speculative, obviously, but be serious now. Be serious and be real.
I'll answer that question after I see the Hopkins fight.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, we can discuss that if Kovalev beats Hopkins.
Okay, we'll leave that one there for now then.
Right now, you've obviously got to
right
say
now.
a Pete Kozagi would beat him. You've got to say right now, you know. So
right. Well, I haven't given my prediction yet, and as you probably know, is I've been kind of siding with Hopkins for the last few weeks. I don't know why. I just think, you know, I've written him off too many times. I wrote him off against Pavlik. See what he'd done there. I mean, I look at the Pavlik fight and I say to myself, you know, is there similar traits to Pavlik's style than there is in Kovalev? I don't know. Maybe you know, the fact is that
far busier than
the thing is with Pavlik is he came up something like was it £20? £10
like,
he came
it's
up.
a 170 catch weight. The thing is as well, you know, what was his last great victory? Hopkins, Pascal, was it? Was that 4 years ago?
Pascal,
that,
maybe, yeah.
You know, the Pavlik fight was 6 years ago now. It's a long time, and you know, like I said, you know, he's declined every fight. He's fought Murat and Shumanov. This is a big jump to someone like Kovalev from those guys. I mean, he's doing incredible to beat those guys because, you know, he's the age that he is. But it's just this different level, I think. You know, not only, you know, the punch output, but the power that he's going to be on the punches. Has Hopkins ever faced a punch like this? I mean, the punches he's faced have been at lower divisions. Not, you know, Kovalev is, you know, a bona fide light heavyweight, and you know, look at the knockout streak. He's, like I said, he's like the Golovkin of the light heavyweights, and you know, I think he's going to win this one. I mean, if he'll make a statement, I think if he can legitimately stop Hopkins, I think, you know, everyone has to respect that.
I think there's no doubt his legs have definitely slowed, because even like in his mid-40s when he fought, early mid-40s when he fought Kozagi, when he fought Pavlik, even against Jean Pascal, he was still as quick then as he was when he was beating Felix Strada. There's no doubt in my mind about that, but I did see a slight speed. The speed was going on his legs, especially against Cloud in the Cloud fight, you know.
Yeah, but Tommy, aren't you a bit in like a dilemma with this fight? I mean, Hopkins' win makes Sir Joe look very, very good.
Listen, I can't lose here. I can't lose this. If Kovalev wins, I get to see Hopkins not do it. If Hopkins wins, it's all the better for Sir Joe, isn't it?
Donnie thinks that Kovalev will win by decision because he will score some knockdowns, but Bernard will not be stopped.
Oh, if Kovalev scores a knockdown, I think he'll score the finish as well. To be honest, it's just, I think the important thing for Kovalev is as Alex said, he's got to throw plenty of punches, but he's also got to throw, for me, on the move. As Hopkins does, you know, I think Kovalev's got to take the centre of the ring, high output, obviously, and he's got to, you know, punch on the move, and he has got the ability to do that, to step forward with his punches. He chased Salika around the ring a little bit, definitely chased Cleverly around the ring, and then I think that's when you can get Hopkins, when he takes that one step back, go again at him, and then when he's on the ropes, I think that's where he can land the damaging punches. And
I'll say one thing, right? there's the most overrated thing in boxing is Bernard Hopkins' chin. I'm not saying that he's got a bad chin, but people
Pascal
he's
Hunt
got
in the rematch.
People say he's got a great chin and he's tough and he's durable and he's never been knocked out. But that's more down to his defence than it is his chin, because we've seen him knocked down and hurt multiple times. He's never been stopped. That's not down to his chin. That's down to his great defence. And if Kovalev hits him and he hits him clean, he'll go down. Mark my words on that. No doubt about it.
But also, this would be if Kovalev does go into the the fourth and fifth round and Hopkins is still there frustrating him, that'll be new territory for him.
Exactly. That's what we're going for. Yeah.
The biggest mistake people make against Hopkins, I think they show him far too much respect, and they fight at his pace. I mean, if you're going in a 50-year-old man, you've got to make him work. Kovalev has to go in there and think, if you're going to beat me, you're going to have to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. Because if Kovalev throws, I watched, like I said, I think the Cedric Agnew fight where he went 7 rounds. He was throwing over 60 punches a round for 7 rounds. He didn't seem to be fading that fight. Now Hopkins is a different opponent, but if he can keep a work rate, he'll win the fight, and he might even get the stoppage. But I just think, as long as he doesn't, do what everyone else does and stands in front of Hopkins not doing much, which I don't think he will, then I just not see how he loses the fight, to be honest.
His jab's important in the fight.
Yeah, definitely, and I mean, we've seen him damn people with a jab to the body, in the last year or so. I'm not saying he's going to do that against Hopkins, but he might register with it, and I think he's going to, like Kurt said, he's a natural light heavyweight, so he's a pretty big guy, and he's going to have a bit of a height advantage and a bit of a reach advantage as well. So he needs to use them, obviously. But I think, go on.
And people talk about Hopkins chose this fight. Yeah, but you got to remember, so did Duva and Kovalev. They're confident in his fight. They know Hopkins is a name, and they know Kovalev, by beating him and maybe stopping him, that takes Kovalev to new levels. He's seen Golovkin getting a lot of praise, building a fan base, and he wants the same thing. And he's facing a Hall of Famer, and he's still one of the best in the division. If he can do a job on him, that pushes him to a new level.
Yeah.
Does Kovalev, if Kovalev scores a knockout, does he go into the pound for pound top 10s?
Yes.
I think so. I mean,
I doubt it'll be on mine. I doubt.
I'm hoping that it's a big fight for me. As I've mentioned a few times, I'm on Kovalev for the Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year, 25-1. So if he wins by knockout, he's got to be the front runner. He's got to be the front runner.
Your quad's in there, mate.
But he has got to win. He has got to win. Yeah. Bearing in mind, Mayweather ain't getting it this year. They gave it Golovkin last year through sheer activity and knockouts. So if Kovalev can get 3 knockout wins this year, one of them being Hopkins, I should have a good chance.
Especially if it's an early knockout as well.
Yeah.
I wonder what price you'll get now. Now you're maybe 25-1 now, what?
Yeah, well, I backed 2. I backed him at 25. So I backed Rigondo at 10-1, but obviously that's gone. He's not fought him enough times. But Pacquiao maybe if he beats Algieri. But
Chris Algieri, I was going to say he himself might get a shot. I mean,
if he beats Manny, he'll win that if he beats Manny. Yeah,
exactly.
Anyway, guys, final predictions. Alex. We've only gone for Kovalev, and I think Adam is sitting on the fence somewhat.
Adam's going for Hopkins, wasn't he?
No, he reckons if it goes the distance, I think if he takes the first few rounds, he'll take the fight by a split decision. Alex, what are you saying, mate?
Kovalev late stoppage.
Tommy?
Kovalev stoppage.
Kurt?
Kovalev UD.
Adam?
I'm going Kovalev stoppage, and I think it might be earlier than what you guys expect.
I'm with you, Adam. I think it could be maybe in the first 5 rounds.
I'm thinking 5. That's the one I've got in my head.
I really don't know. I mean, I'm really wanting to side with Hopkins. I think why no? I'm going to be one of these guys. I'm going to do it differently. I'm not going to go the status quo. I'm going to take Hopkins by decision.
Hopkins by KO.
It's interesting.
Hopkins by Hopkins by hook or by crook, by dark arts, the black arts, whatever you want to call it. He knows every trick under the sun, and he's right in what he says sometimes, because there's no teachers left in boxing. He's had the teacher of boxing, I don't know, mate. It's a risk. I said it before. It's a risk to take the fight. It's a, the guy could end up on the slab, and I mean that respectfully. Actually, I mean this guy. This guy doesn't give a shit.
If you remember as well, Hopkins collapsed after the second Roy Jones fight.
Did he?
Actually collapsed and went to hospital after that fight, and that's when Richard Schaefer had said to him he thought he should retire, and he obviously didn't. he came back and beat Pascal and got the draw with Pascal first, but he actually collapsed after that fight. So I mean he's an old man. He's in a young man's sport, isn't he? And going against the puncher, I mean it's a risky fight for him. Was
that not something to do with the punches behind the head, Kurt? Does that maybe Bernard says that, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. I just that's happened, and Schaefer advised him, as his friend, to call it a day. But he had a great career at that point, and maybe going out with the win over the revenge win, but he obviously didn't. He said he'd go out at 40, didn't he, as well, to his mum, and he's still here.
Well, I won't put it past Hopkins, that hospital visit being an elaborate way to claim that someone's cheated against him. But
yeah, probably. If he does get beat on the cards, it'll be a robbery.
If he beats Kovalev, I just think the next step is Vlad Klitschko fight.
Oh,
Go
God.
for it, I think.
I think that's time to end the show there, if we're thinking about that. Anyway, guys, no, seriously though, it's been some good chat this week. Obviously, hopefully the listeners liked the Al Bernstein chat. Just to let listeners know, as we are hoping that tomorrow we'll get confirmation from Matchroom if we'll get Eddie Hearn on the show on Thursday. If that's the case, then we will be expecting you to send in some questions privately. Of course, we want it either by private messages on Twitter or on our website. You know what to do. I'd like to thank the panel today: Donny Baseball, Adam Abramovich, who had to drop off early, Adam Smith, Kurt Ward, Tommy Allen, Alex Morris. I'd like to thank Gabe Lewis as well for jumping in the call with Al Bernstein. I've been your host, Andy Patterson, and we'll see you on Sunday or Thursday maybe. All the best.
Call for Roch, top £10 for pound.
Wanker.
Klitschko Hopkins 2015.
Kovalev the killer.